Welcome, everyone, to another live book discussion here on Already Overbooked. Tonight, we will be going over Ordinary Grace by William Kent Krueger. But before jumping in, let me introduce my esteemed guest, a guy whose shelves are stacked and his opinions are sharp. He brings a thoughtful, faith rooted perspective to his reviews. And he's one of those readers who can pull out a theme you didn't even notice until he says it out loud. So buckle up as this discussion is about to get deep, fun, and probably a little chaotic. Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourself for the one, the only Josh from the Reformed Reader. How's it going, buddy?
Good, man. You're like the world's greatest hot man.
Listen, man, it's my side gig. It's my side gig.
I've had a couple of people on. And I've tried to hop them up, but I think you put it to shame.
Oh man, I'm too excited for this conversation, Josh. Man, we talked right before we went live, and I've had a interesting week, and I've been thinking about this conversation since we finished, because I feel like we both finished around the same time. There's a few people on. I want to go through and say hey, and then I have a quick synopsis for those that are not familiar. And for some reason, if you haven't watched my review or Josh's amazing review, I want to go through and give a quick synopsis, and then we'll jump into some non-spoiler stuff for first few minutes, and then we're going to dive deep into spoilers, because I have to get some things off my chest, because this book broke me. It broke me. I'm just going to be very honest. It was a tough read for all the best reasons. So we have Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. How's it going, buddy? Party's right here, buddy. J.A., how's it going, man? We were just talking on X just a minute ago. How's it going? And then Twiceborn, new buddy of mine.
What is up, man?
We've been talking recently.
Me and Twiceborn are good buddies, so we've talked quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a good guy. Good guy. I feel like he reached out last week, and we just been like going back and forth. Great person.
Yeah. He's got some got some very thoughtful questions and like insight on some things, and sometimes he'll just shoot me straight. Like, for instance, I've kind of raved about the Shadow of I'm gonna get all these books mixed up. The Lycanius trilogy by James Allington. And he's like, dude, book one is not working for me. I'm like, well, quit reading it. That's like it's okay. It's like, I get it. Book one, and it's a book one, and it's a debut novel. So it's slow burn. So if, it ain't for you, just keep on going. He's like, okay, cool. I'm done.
I plan it. So Crazy brought that book up. I was going through and trying to plan what I'm going to be reading next year, and that book's on there, so I'm going to be reading that probably February timeframe. So we'll see if it's up my alley, but I don't know, we'll see. I've not heard great things personally, but we'll see.
Book one is really good. It's slow. The end of book one is like fantastic, because you can you get to peer into the window of like what he's trying to do. Book two is a book two. I haven't read book three yet. And so I'm going to reread them, I think, next year. And, everybody's told me like, okay, book three makes the rest of it worth it. I'm like, okay, I'll do my best.
All right. We'll see. I might have to, we'll see. Let me see how book one is. And then we might connect and might, keep going with, book two and book three. We'll see what happens. All right, but I want to jump in. Let's jump into Ordinary Grace. Again, if you have not heard about Ordinary Grace, I want to give a quick synopsis, and Josh will keep me honest if what I wrote down here makes any sense. So we'll see. Ordinary Grace follows Frank Drum as he looks back on one unforgettable summer in 1961 in a small Minnesota town. What starts as a quiet coming-of-age story slowly becomes a meditation on tragedy, family, faith, and the fragile line between innocence and adulthood. When a sudden death shakes the community, Frank and his younger brother find themselves confronted with secrets, grief, and the complicated ways adults respond to suffering. The story blends a subtle mystery with deep emotional themes, but more than anything, it's about how one family survives loss and how small acts of mercy, kindness, and forgiveness shape a life. Feel like that?
Yeah, nailed it.
It's right on the head. Perfect. Yep. Awesome. All right. So my first question for you, Josh, what was your expectation going into this book?
Well, let's see. I will absolutely ruin a lot of people's opinions and say that I absolutely judge books by their covers, probably all the time. And immediately I thought of Stand By Me.
Mhm.
And I think it kind of hit a lot of those high notes. It's very different, but it is that coming of age. That the train tracks really reminded me of the boys when they were walking. You know,
Mhm.
they just kind of on that journey. So I think it kind of knocked the feeling of Stand By Me out of the park as far as that goes. Other than that, all I knew was that it was going to be rough for me. I'd heard from several friends. They're like, get ready because you're a dad and just get ready. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good. So mainly that sort of like the coming of age, I really didn't know the set, what the setting was. And I enjoyed it. Like I really wanted to read the back and kind of find out what it was about, but there's something about going into it blind that, I didn't have expectations other than, okay, I think this is like a Stand By Me kind of coming of age story. And with that, yes, the rest of it was just like, foot on the gas a little bit as far as emotionally goes.
Yeah, I honestly, I have not heard anything about this book. No one
Mm,
I know went through and read this book and recommended it to me. So the first time I read the synopsis, like, okay, that sounds cool,
yeah.
and that was it. So
Yeah.
no one gave me that warning of, hey, you're about to get broken. Just mentally prepare yourself. Because I went through and watched your review, and you went through and said that you saw
Mm,
the big reveal happen.
yeah.
I did not. I was in it, and I was just like, just take me through this story. And it was yeah, it hit me in the feels
Well,
multiple
if it
times.
makes you feel any better, Sam messaged me and he said the same. He's like, okay, maybe he said, maybe I'm just a dummy because I didn't catch that. And which later when we get into the spoilery part, um, I will, I'll divulge. How do I say this without being spoilery? There is a particular movie that I think William Kent Krueger maybe, um, had some influence with,
Mhm,
and then and just for some reason, sort of the same feelings, like he was evoking those same kind of feelings. And when a particular character came up, I was like, I wonder. And then so I had that kind of in the back of my mind, and then could see, since I already had a presupposition of
mhm.
what was going to happen, it was easier for those pieces to fall into place. So that's why I was like, really want to make this comparison because it works, but
Perfect,
it
yeah.
will ruin the book and the movie for everybody. So I'm just gonna refrain. But yeah, I'm it was still very good. Like I don't want it to seem like it was like, oh, it was just a throwaway. Like I think if you go into it blind, you'll be fine. And if you're not sitting there trying to pick it apart and be like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out, then I think, you probably won't. But the big reveal, I did enjoy that there were still things that Krueger kept close to the chest that he did. So even though I kind of knew what was going on, you didn't know to the full extent until you get
Mhm,
to the end. And it wasn't one of those where it's like, well, you couldn't figure it out. It was
mhm,
more of, uh, like if you ever watch Monk, one of the things I love about the show Monk is that it shows you who did it, but the entire episode isn't about who did it; it's how they
mhm.
did it. And that's kind of
Right.
like I was like, okay, now I want to figure out how, and you don't really get that reveal till the end.
Mhm. Yeah, I did enjoy when I reflected on the reveal, when you went through
Mhm.
and found out. It was like there were obvious breadcrumbs if you
Yeah.
were seeking it out.
Mhm.
Um, so I did enjoy that because I do like where it's not so left field within a story
Mhm.
going, and it was Josh the whole time. It's like
Yeah.
the guy we saw for 2 minutes, it was
Yeah.
like this, it was actually well fleshed out and it
Mhm.
made sense. And I think that's what I really enjoyed about this was it the town felt actually lived in. I
Mhm.
thoroughly enjoyed the, oh geez. Uh-oh. I'm getting my hands slapped. Uh-oh. Ted demands here.
Sorry, Ted. I won't get into it.
Oh man. I just saw Grifton said the justification. Love it, dude. You're so funny.
I will do my best to not just get nervous and ramble like I did on Grifkin. That was an atrocity. I apologize.
No, that was fun. That was fun. But this small town. So I was going back to talk about the environment in the small town. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It really, and we mentioned this before we jumped on. It brought back so many memories of growing up. I lived in a small town near McLean, Illinois. It's really close to Springfield, and there's like 700 people in that town. And I lived there for a while, and that was the kind of town this felt like to me. I'm like, where everyone knows everybody. And it was like, I was like, oh, I know these characters. Like, I've lived in this town with these people. And it was, it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Did you have that same kind of experience with?
Yeah, it had that, that Main Street USA feel. You know, it's, that classic, like, okay, like I live in a very small town right now, like very, very small. We literally have Main Street that takes you to Walmart, and then outside of Arab, which is where I'm from. So it's like one, anyway, I won't get into that, but it's like one tiny little street. And so, I get some of that now, but I also grew up in I lived in upstate New York for about not quite 2 years. And they had a similar, like, we have one main street. It's an old colonial town right beside the lake. It had a train bridge, all those kind of things. And so, yeah, it did kind of pull me back. And so you almost get like a hit of nostalgia while you're reading it, even though, like, I've never even been to Minnesota. So I'd have to ask Sam over at Samwise. I'm like, is this accurate? But I've never even been there, but it felt like he kind of threw you right in the middle of it, which one of the things I really enjoyed about the setting is that he kind of painted a broad picture and let us fill in the gaps. You know, he was like, there's the drugstore, there's the police station. It's sort of Main Street USA, go. And so we kind of got to fill in those gaps. And I like, after I finish a book, I like trying to see if people have done like fan art, and seeing some of the fan art, it is so drastically different of the town. And none of them were like what I was thinking. And so that I thought was really neat, because everybody kind of got plugged into it in their own way.
I did not go through and do that. I'm adding that to my list to go through and Google later on.
It's super nerdy, by the way. So,
I'm curious about, I don't know, man. I think it's the town that I grew up in is really what's in my head, because there's two very small towns I grew up in, was McLean, Illinois, and then Kosciuszko, Mississippi, which is one Walmart, one movie theater. And that was the town. And the closest next town from it was like an hour plus away. Everything else was like bare nothing. And that's what I felt. I'm like, oh man, this is it. All right. I need to get into some spoilers, but I'm curious, before we jump in and start talking spoilers, what did you end up going through? Do you rate books?
I do on Goodreads and stuff. I gave this is an 11 out of 10 for me. This isn't for me, it's like an all timer. It rivals Boy's Life in the coming of age story. I still think Boy's Life eked it out. So for anybody that's read it, I think the end of Boy's Life was such a home run that it's going to be hard for anything to top that for me, as far as just, that's not science fiction or fantasy. That's just sort of a fiction book. I think that's like, that's my top tier, but this was close. And so that's saying that for me, that's saying a lot. I thought if you liked Boy's Life and you're wanting something similar, or if you like The Sandlot or Stand By Me or any of those coming of age stories, and it's a lesser known movie, but it's based off of Stephen King's novel, but Hearts in Atlantis has a similar feel of that small town 60s. It just doesn't have the weird fantasy elements that King threw in there. But like, if you like all of that, then I think this is like an instant buy.
Okay. So I've not read Boy's Life.
Oh,
so
man.
I need to go read Boy's Life.
So I know that Rowdy is reading it next year. And so maybe I'm just saying, if y'all were able to sync up, I would not be opposed to rereading it because it's been a couple of years. And I told Rowdy, I'm like, I think that Boy's Life is, like I said, I'm calling it, it's book of the year for you. I'd be surprised if it isn't. It's Preacher's favorite book of all time. So it's it's a good one.
All right. I'll connect with Rowdy. Hey, oh my goodness. You say his name 3 times and he shows up.
Yes.
How's it going, Rowdy?
What's up, man? Yeah. It's going to be book of the year for him and you.
All right. Rowdy, we need 3 of us need to reread Boy's Life and then sit and talk about it. So
it's good.
I'm excited. I'm excited. You know, I always enjoy doing buddy reads because it makes me think harder into the stories. But all right, I'm letting everyone know, spoilers. We will be talking spoilers about this. So here, if you don't want to be spoiled, I appreciate you being here. Go read the book. It's amazing.
Yeah, read the book and come back.
Yeah. All right. So I want to jump in first I'm going to start high level and work my way into my thought process. Feel free to push me in a different direction.
No, I'm here for it.
Frank, the narrator, what did you think about him being the narrator? What I really liked about it, and then I'm going to get your opinion, is Frank wasn't narrating from his 13-year-old self. He was reflecting as an adult about what his life was in this small town. So curious, what did you think of that type of writing style?
I thought it was really well done. I've read something similar. I think, and again, this is just my opinion, it almost seems like Frank isn't the main character. It almost seems like that Frank is telling Nathan's story, the father. It's almost like he's telling his story or the events as somebody sort of a little bit on the outskirts, because he was involved in all of the events, but not directly. It was always indirect involvement with him in some way. Just as like for instance, we see, like when they go and visit his friend and the mom early on in the book that had not been coming to church. And so they were going to check on him. And so, you know, that something had went on with this woman and her husband clearly. And Frank just kind of goes and pulls the son off to the side and sees that he's got a black eye. And he's like, that's weird. Hey, let's go play out in the backyard. And you kind of hear snippets of the conversation going on between the adults. Frank's buddy that lives there, the boy, he doesn't really want to talk about things. And so he's just kind of like, I don't like what's going on. These weird adults are doing these weird adult things. So I really enjoyed that we're sort of almost seeing like a top down view, rather than, I did this and I did that, even though it is still first person. It was odd and unique, but excellent, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. I really liked the fact that, because we all do this, we all go through and reflect on childhood events or things that might have happened just a year ago, when you go through with the wisdom of time. And that's what I think I really loved about Frank looking back, was you got the wisdom of the adult looking back as a child, but he knew what his mindset was back then. So you got both contradictions of,
right,
I don't know what was happening in that house, and then going like, well, I do now.
Right. Yeah.
Which was very enjoyable for me. It kept bringing me, like, I had times when I went through, was reading the book and I had to go through and stop. And because I was reflecting on situations that occurred in my life that kind of mirrored the situation that happened in the story as well.
Yeah, so it's just an everyday thing. Like I don't know what the big deal is, and then you go back and reflect on it. You're like, oh, okay, that was actually maybe something that I need to take note of. And that that dichotomy between Frank being a child and then narrating as an adult, and then every once in a while, you know, he would kind of pause and just be like, okay, so this is what was going on, and I didn't know, and I didn't know how to wrestle with this and play. You know, and I was like, ooh, okay, that's just an interesting way to play with the narrative to where it didn't get stale.
Yeah. And there was a few times where he called things out going, at the time, I didn't think this was important. But here, right's about to come up is the pivot point of where things start going nuts. And it's like, okay. All right. What chaos is about to happen?
Yeah.
But so when I was going through, definitely with memory, when you go through and reflect, and definitely with someone else who lived the same situation that you did, memories are kind of smoky, where it doesn't me and you could live the exact same experience, and then what I remember and what you remember is completely different.
Right.
So for Frank, did you trust his narration 100%?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think Krueger framed it appropriately enough to where you understood that there might be some inconsistencies. It was almost as if it's almost like if you and I were just talking and then I were to, like, I was telling you a story and be like, okay, like I can't confirm that this is 100% the case, but this is the best that I can remember it. It almost seemed like that was the case a few times where he was like, look, I don't remember this, but my brother has since told me blah, 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 blah. Or, my parents told me later on that, that wasn't the case. Or, one time in particular was where I can't remember the boy's name, but he was like the bully. And he shoved him in the water or whatever. And he was like, I mean, what was I supposed to do? And then he sort of has retrospect. And then he's like, well, afterwards they told me that, that almost killed him and blah, blah, blah. Where at the time I was just worried about getting beat up.
Yeah. I was worried about surviving. And even the crazy part was, let's just stay at the scene for a minute. So he pushes the bully into the water. The girlfriend, who's a psycho, goes, he can't swim. So he goes, oh, let me help him out. So the kid does the right thing. I'm like, look at you, Frank, saving the bully. You're being the
righteous Frank
here. And then he pulls him out, and the bully goes, you're going to pay for this. And he goes, not after I push you back in the water again. Pushes him back in. I go, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, you were okay, but now, okay, I guess your death is no longer on my hands. Yeah, I thought to say, but it did make me laugh though, because I was like, that is 100% what a 10, 12-year-old boy would do. It's like, oh, okay, easy solution. You shouldn't have told me your weakness, Superman.
Yeah, yeah, because the bully was like a few years old. He was like 15 or 16. So he was like, oh, this guy's a grown adult, and he said he can't swim. So this is my defense: is pushing him back in the water. It was so funny. Oh, so funny. Oh man. Oh, but
what did you think? Did you think he was reliable?
No, not at all. No. I felt okay. So here's what I was thinking with Frank in this story: is I felt Frank had so much guilt with what happened that summer. He had unresolved issues now, and that's what I think he was telling. Was he telling the story? Because I can't recall if it said at the end of the story who he was talking to, or if he was writing stuff. I can't recall
I don't
why he was telling the story to us.
Right.
But I remember when I was reading the story, I was like, he is talking to someone about this, and so I don't 100% trust his what he was saying. I felt like high level it was what happened, but I felt like he was missing a lot of details, probably blended details of situations, added in things that wasn't there. I didn't trust him as a reliable narrator, to be 100% honest. I think that was on purpose, because memory, again, is not something you can 100% rely on throughout.
Well, that's what I can't remember for some reason, and I very well may be 100% wrong, but I'm wanting to say, did he say that he was a writer of some kind at the end of it?
Maybe.
For some reason, it made me think of, and again, I may be blurring the Stand By Me lines there, because I know that was the case, but I can't remember why he was telling the story. I guess just because he wanted us to know.
Yeah, he was just like, all right, I need to tell these people what's up. Did you feel like Frank had a lot of guilt still from that summer?
Yeah. That was to see, like, Krueger was writing, he had to implant himself as the writer of a story that he almost had to convince himself was true. It was like, okay, I'm this guy that's telling the story. And so if I lived these events, how would I be wrestling with them, or, how could I, or whatever. So yes, 100%, especially since like there were a few times like, when his brother went on his, cursing tirade right there outside the church, or, when he, I think he like yelled at his dad or something, like, or every time like that he would lie to his dad, and then he'd be like, oh man. And my dad is just looking back as the most upright guy. He was the only guy in the room doing the right thing. And then this is how I repay him. I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. So I think so. And having to wrestle with that and then tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, it was, it was unique in that sense, which is, for me, I think is rare to see any sort of authenticity as far as the author goes. Instead of just going, here's a story, I'm going to tell it to you, but it's you're really trying to do some psychology with the author.
So that's a good point. And I want to pivot to the parents, because I felt like he did such an amazing job with the parents of this story. I'm trying to remember their name. I should have wrote it down.
Nathan and I can't remember his mom's name.
Is it Ruth? Rob?
Maybe.
I'm calling her Ruth. If it's not her name, someone let me know in the chat and be like, no, her name's Sarah. It's not Ruth at all.
Yeah. It was definitely a 60s name.
Yeah.
It was like Mary Lou or something,
There we go. Let's call her Mary Lou. So I thoroughly enjoyed the complexity that he did with Frank and Frank's parents, with Nathan, Ruth, or Mary Lou. Having that minister father and frustrated.
You nailed it. It's Ruth, by the way.
It is Ruth.
Okay.
Got it. I was, for some reason, Baby Ruth was like constantly going to my head. Like, Baby Ruth. I'm like, why am I thinking of Baby Ruth? So Ruth, that's the name. Perfect. Look at me. But the minister father, the frustrated mother who like really was upset with where her life was, and the dynamic between these two were done so well, and the emotional responses that they went through within this story. I thoroughly like, anytime either of them were on the paper, I was like, he's doing these characters so much justice. And their perspective on the world was very real. It felt like a real couple. It didn't feel like one of them was watered down, one of them was thought through. It felt like he went through and put a lot of time in building these characters into something that's real.
Yeah, then there was complexity and nuance with both of them. You had you had the man that had his life planned out and then went off to war, and everything changed, including the plan for his life, which his wife didn't sign up for. And so she's haunted by the what if question. I actually thought there was a certain point where you could see her completely resent the life that she lives. And it made me think of Dark Matter. It made me think of where it was the character asking what if. I'm like, she's plagued by the question what if, to the point to where she's allowing it to ruin her life. Or, I mean, she thinks her life is ruined. And so as a man thinks, so he is, right? And so she thinks her life is ruined. And so my life's ruined and it's miserable, and I'm going to be miserable, and everybody just has to be okay with it. And so now I'm going to take my daughter and I'm going to live vicariously through her. And then you see some resentment when she starts to kind of kick back against that. But then to see, Nathan is like the star of the book, and he might be my favorite character I've read all year. It's very rare. I've said it in my review, but one of my favorite things about this book is that Krueger was able to write the character that is a minister well. And I don't just mean it's a well-written character that's well thought out. I mean that most of the time when you read a pastor or even a pastor's family and there's dysfunction, which, there is with every family, but you get to kind of see behind the curtain with this family in particular, that most of the time the pastor is like a bumbling idiot, or he's just like, he really doesn't, it's either that or he has zero empathy and is neglecting his family for the sake of his studies or his position or whatever. And this was just like, I recommended this book to my pastor because I said, like, even though you come from different backgrounds as far as denomination goes or whatever, to see a pastor that first and foremost loves God, and then secondly loves his family, and then third loves his congregation, and he keeps those things in that order, and to see those things fleshed out appropriately, somebody that's just living a quiet life, doing his good work that he's called to do, and then to do it well, and people still hate him for it. And then what does he do? He goes, like, every time you think he's going to go and reach for the bottle or whatever that most characters do. They become a caricature within themselves. And what does he do? He goes across the street, he goes into the church, and he's on his knees praying. And you're like, and he's praying for his wife, he's praying for his kids, he's praying for the congregation and the circumstances. He's asking for forgiveness of himself because he has a temper and all these things. And then he goes back and he's just like, listen, there was a point with Ruth where somebody kind of insinuated, like, she's being a bad wife. And he basically said, I know, but she's my wife. And so I'm going to love her, and I'm going to love her well, regardless of how she loves me. And I was like, somebody's cutting onions. I was like, that was so perfectly done.
You're reading in bed and it's like,
dude,
you didn't wash your hands before you went to bed, did you?
So I read in my recliner. Like, most of the time when we put our kids to bed, I'm reading in my recliner, and my wife normally is reading on the corner of the couch, and we're reading different books or whatever. And this book, about 4 or 5 times, I'm just like, I really hope she doesn't look at me right now. So I can't wipe my eyes or nothing. I just gotta kind of sit here for a second. And then I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
That's so funny. I do a lot of reading in bed we're in bed, like a bunch of like 60, 80-year-old people just sitting in bed. I'm sitting here, she's sitting there. And I tend to do this. I don't have a copy of the book, but I go through this. So if I'm reading and there's a part that gets me, I just do this. And she goes, what's wrong with you? And I go, I'm having a moment. And I just sit there holding the book. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go back in. But it's just like, to put it, like, just putting it down. It's just like, oh, I can't.
See, most of the time I'm going like, so that way, that way she can see my face.
Well, if I do this, you can still see me from the side. So it's like, I just gotta live with it. Like, I think I
gotta go to sleep.
Yeah. I'm meditating right now. Leave me alone.
It's hilarious. But yeah, Nathan was great. And Ruth, and it's not to like, the author doesn't dunk on Ruth, right? Because he probably could have. He probably could have been like, look at this, woman that's just unhappy and unsatisfied with everything about her life and blah, blah, blah. But there was compassion with her. It was like, oh, so she really did have sort of stardom and fame and notoriety set up for her. And it kind of was because Nathan pivoted that some of this fell through. Now, we don't know that for certain, but she has made up in her mind that that's exactly why. It's his fault. And then really it's God's fault.
That's exactly, right? It was the faith that she was angry. And I felt like she 100% said it in the book of like something on the line of like, stop hiding behind faith. And it was
why don't you go read your Bible? Why don't you, what are you going to do? Preach to me and pray for me? And he was like, yes, I'm going to go pray for you. She's like, well, if you mention one more word about God, I'm out. And he's like, I'm sorry. And then she followed through for a time. And so to see, like, it was easy for me. Number one, just as a man, I think it was easy for me to go, man, she's being terrible. And as an outsider, and maybe because of the way Frank framed it, because I'm sure if she told the story, it might be drastically different.
Mm-hmm.
But to see that, you know, when Frank and Carl came to their dad and they're like, where'd mom go? What's going on? And he's like, she just needs some time, but I'm going to go get her. You know, this isn't one of those things where, okay, well, she's gone and good riddance. It's like, no, this is my bride and I'm going to pursue her and she's coming home. And I was like, oh man, that's so well done. So well done.
Yeah. It was, I understood both of them. Like I got it. Like I really understood where Nathan was, where he was like, hey, this, because I write stuff on my board. When I see a good quote, I write it on my board. And I saw this right after I read this book. And it's been up here since I finished it. And I feel like this quote, don't tell me who said it, I don't remember. But it says, wherever you run in your crisis is where your Christ is.
Ooh.
And I was like, it hit. Like I finished this book 2 days later, I heard this. And I was like, ooh, all right, it's staying up here. And it kind of definitely, it hits home, I feel like, with this story of when Nathan was going through the big death that happened in the story. You mentioned it. He was like, I got to go pray about it. I don't understand, but I believe there's a plan for this. While Ruth went to anger automatically and went to frustration. And that was the big part that for me, it broke my heart for her, because it was like, she's not going to grow with this anger that she has. Understandable. Her daughter passed, like got murdered. We rephrase, not passed. She got murdered. So I understand like where she was coming from, but as a person, it's like, man, you are not going down the right path to actually heal. You're just going to live with this anger and frustration until you find a healthy way to let it go. And you know,
there was my pastor told me one time, and this is one of those phrases that has just stuck with me, but he said most atheists are not actual atheists, because they're not saying there is no God, but they're shaking their fist at the heavens and they're saying no God. And I'm like, oh, she was the characterization of that phrase, is that, you know, she was at no point did she say, well, she may have, maybe I should rephrase and say, at no point did she mean God's not real. None of all of this is hocus pocus. It was like, I hate him. I hate him for what he's done to my family. I hate him for what he's done to my husband. I hate him for what he's done to my kids. And because of that, you know what? I'm going to shake my fist and I'm going to say no. And yet he pursued her.
And from her perspective, God came down on her twice.
Yes.
He went down. I have a career. I have my future ahead of me. I am going to be successful. I'm going to be about me and what I want. And then he went, no, it's not happening. And then he stopped her there. And so she was angry and bitter. And then her oldest daughter got murdered. So it was like, from her perspective, she was like, you are taking everything from me. You are taking everything, one thing after another, and trying to knock me down. So that's what I was getting from her perspective. Throughout that, it wasn't like you said, she wasn't like, he doesn't exist. It was like, why do you keep doing this to me?
Yes.
You're punishing me for what reason? And she was expressing that anger constantly towards anyone, towards God, or anyone that was leaning to God for the support. That's why she had so much anger and frustration with Nathan of going like, why are you leaning into this entity?
Yeah, the very thing that took our daughter.
Taking my daughter away and took my life away. Yep. Now I'm in this terrible town that I don't want to be in. The life I don't want.
Yeah. The book of James is one of my favorite books of the Bible. And the book of James tells us about trials, that trials are sent to us, not, I want to make sure I articulate this appropriately, because people are going to be blasphemy in the comments, you know, but trials are sent to us not so that God can see who we are, but to show us who we are, right? It's it's not that he doesn't know. It's okay. When you have built the house up, the proverbial house up, and you've built it with sticks and leaves and chaff, and the fire comes and burns it away, what's left? And this is your state. And this is where we need to start from. All this other is irrelevant. And I'm like, so to see somebody have to go through something like that, and to personally know, just a personal anecdote, to know people that have experienced loss like that, on both ends of the spectrum, that it can harden somebody's heart or it can break somebody's heart. It was tough for me to read Ruth's parts, not because I was angry with her, but because I empathized with her more than it's like, yeah, that's, it is that's me. If things were different, like I would be that person. I think that's maybe sort of what Krueger was shining. Maybe not, maybe I'm reading too much into it. But I think maybe that's what he's shining a light on, is that with Nathan and Ruth, you do have completely different perspectives, but it kind of shows you two completely distinct outcomes due to the same circumstances. So, it kind of shows us that our circumstances don't determine our ultimate outcome. It's how we deal with those circumstances.
Like, exactly. Yeah. How we react to the situations. And yeah, I can't agree more. That's what I was taking it as well, as you have two choices on when you have a life-changing event that happens to you. And it doesn't have to be the death of a child. It could be whatever that completely uplifts your life. You have two choices. You can either lean into faith or you can get angry about it. I don't feel like there's anything really in between you can go through and do.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I felt was being portrayed within this story, which I thoroughly went through and enjoyed.
With them two in particular, I love that as soon as they were on the page, you immediately knew there was tension. Like I'm talking within 2 sentences, and every time that they were together, there was tension. And anytime that they were apart, there was relief from both. And so you knew, right out of the gate, like, okay, this is going to come to a head and we're about to see this whole family implode in some way. And when it does, it's going to be on an epic scale. And so every time that they would interact, you would have just tension, and you'd be like, oh man, Frank would want to get out of the room, but he'd still have to be sitting on the stairs listening to what the conversation was, but he didn't want to be a part of it. He just wanted to be on the outside. So he stayed informed, because that tension was like, you could, cut it with a knife, because they just were at each other all the time. And even, his was maybe served up a little bit different, but she was just like outright, like, why do you do this? Why are you this way? Like, can't we just be normal for once? And I kind of, at times I'm like, I get it, And so to see that tension finally come to a head, and you see that split, it makes the reconciliation so much more impactful when it came about.
No, I agree. We spoke about Ariel's death. I didn't see that coming. Was that the thing that you saw coming? Or who did it? Who did it is what I saw coming more than anything. Okay. I thought that Carl was the one that was going to go. I thought Carl was going to be the one too.
Yeah.
And that was like, that's who I was thinking was going to, like, when it found out it was her, I was like, there's no way. I did not see it coming at all. It was a big shocker to me. But yeah, I thought it was going to be Carl the whole time. And I loved Carl. Like, I adored that kid. His nervousness, like, just the whole, like, his whole personality was so well done.
Yes. As a little brother, like, he nailed it. You know what I mean? It's like, you're the tag along, you're the one, you're the nuisance and the burden that your brother has to tote around all the time. And hey, make sure you keep an eye on your little brother. Like, I was like I'm on the receiving end, and I understand Carl's frustration. Like, I get it, because it's constantly like, what are you doing, you dummy? Stop. Mom and dad told us not to. And he's like, shut up, leave me alone. I'm going to go drink alcohol and smoke a cigar or whatever, I'm going to go say some bad words. Like I can, and Carl's like, stop, it's wrong. I'm like, dude, I 100% empathize with him, but I think he was far more virtuous than I was at that age. Cause at that point I'm just like, I'm doing whatever my brothers are doing, but I was always known as, my brother's names are John and Daniel, but like to this day, people know me as John and Daniel's little brother, so that's like how kind of I think Carl felt. It's like, oh, that's Frank's little brother. It's like, oh, he's always with him. And the few glimpses you got of him and his own personality where he wasn't adopting Frank's was with, I forgot her name. The girl that was deaf. It was with her, and you could see and Frank saw him differently. He's like, I don't know why she is okay with him. He's just my weird little brother, and he's like, Frank, leave her alone. I was like, yes, so well done.
All right. I want to hear what, how do you know who did it? How do you know?
Okay. See, if you haven't seen the movie, then I'm about to spoil it for you.
I'm ready to be spoiled.
Have you ever? It's old. Well, I say old. It's early 2000s. But have you ever seen the movie Mystic River?
No.
Oh,
have I seen?
Well, I'm sorry. I just ruined it for you.
Have I seen Mystic River?
And it's starring Sean Penn, Tim Robbins, Kevin Bacon. I think
Kevin Bacon's in it. Yeah.
Very, very good.
Fishburne's in it. Interesting.
Yep.
There's a lot of killers in here.
Yes. It's pretty heavy. So like the heaviness you get with Ariel's death is like, I'm talking the first 5 minutes of the movie. And it's how these so like Kevin Bacon, Tim Robbins, and Sean Penn were all best buddies, and a horrible thing took place with one of those boys. And then fast forward like 30 years. And now they've all kind of grown up and they're doing different things. Anyway, so to say that, apparently I'm about to ruin the movie and the book because I haven't read the book. I plan to, but they said the movie is pretty accurate. But in the movie, you follow a similar story where somebody dies, and you're trying to figure out who. And this is a horrible description, but I'm going to use it anyway. But if you're a fan of The Office, there is an episode where they do the murder mystery party, which they're like Savannah, and Dwight comes in and he's like, it's Phyllis because she's the person I most medium suspect.
Yeah.
And it's like so true. It's like with pretty much every murder mystery, it's rarely one or the other. It's almost always the person you most medium suspect. And so anyway, squirrel. So I'm sitting here reading the book, and the character, the deaf girl, that character is very reminiscent of a character in Mystic River, and their motivations are the exact same. And so when I started just thinking, I'm like, okay, even her mannerisms are similar. She kind of has a violent nature to her that's a bit below the surface. And so but it stinks as the reader, that I guess it's what's difficult about novelizations is that like with films, you can put something in there that's an Easter egg or a clue or a hint without the viewer knowing. Whereas when you're writing a novel, every word is intentional. And so when you get to a scene where, she gets upset, and so she reaches and she grabs a hold of whatever garden tool she has and she's about to hit somebody with it. Like there's a reason for that. It's not just in there, especially in a book that's, 300 pages. There's a reason for it. And so immediately that was like red flag. And the girl's deaf and not really comprehensive of things that are going on. She's, completely absorbed in her own little world, and anything that disrupts that, she is not just averse to it, but she detests it and despises it. Anybody that touches her, like those little kind of cues, I'm like, okay, like something's going on. And then so you catch on pretty quickly, obviously with Ruth, and I can't remember the other man's name. It wasn't Peter. anyway, the neighbor, the blind neighbor,
Yeah.
you catch on pretty quick that's like, okay, there's something other going on. And then I'm like, okay, so who has motivation? And the boyfriend, what kind of was there, but there wasn't enough. And part of me was like, he doesn't have enough screen time
Mhm.
to develop this motivation. So it's got to be somebody in this circle or at least tied into it. And so in Mystic River, almost the exact plot line played out. It was, somebody's about to take my brother from me and ruin my world and my life. And so because of that, I have to put a stop to it. Now, I still highly recommend you watch the movie. It's rough. I'm going to tell you, if you get through the first 5-10 minutes and you're like, okay, I'm on board, then you'll love the movie. But just be prepared. The first 5 or 10 minutes are very hard to swallow, especially for a dad. So, anyway, so when I started kind of seeing that, Anna had a similar feeling to Mystic River. Mystic River is a much darker story, but it just kind of evoked some of that similar feeling. And randomly, I actually told my wife, I'm like, this has some Mystic River type of vibe to it or whatever. And I don't know why. It's completely different times and settings and everything. And then just, yeah, every once in a while, I'd just kind of like, okay, check. And I'm like, all right, I think the sister did it. I don't know how the sister did it. But I do know why she did it. And so now it's figuring out how and how those things took place. The only, like, I don't necessarily want to say critique. I guess it is a critique that I didn't mention in my review. And I thought about afterwards was, the Indian character. The uncle.
That reminded me of Huck and Finn.
Yes.
Honestly, that's what.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so. But the only thing that I was like, okay, there's a little bit of a red herring there, and I don't really know why that was included, was right in the beginning of the book when Frank and Carl meet him and he like touched Carl's leg. I was like, oh man, this is going to be some demented book or something, and then it just, nothing happened. And which I was like, I'm thankful it didn't, but I'm like, okay, so why, like, nobody's mentioning this. Why? And so I don't know if he just was like, okay, I'm going to plant this seed in somebody's mind to make them think now he has motivation for whatever reason to kill
it wasn't
sister.
just touching the leg. It was also messing with the dead homeless guys.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. And getting the trophies and all that weird stuff. It's so, like,
I felt like he was just involved just to be the look over here type of character. And I didn't think he did anything, honestly. I was like,
he's just a weirdo.
He's too obvious to be the person. And I think he was just had some issues. But I didn't see and I cannot remember her name. Was the one who did it. But I just want to make sure you said you saw, you knew why she did it. I didn't catch on why she did it before. Like, I didn't put the hints together that there was some kind of situation going on between her and, was it Carl? Was that his name?
The blind guy? No, that's the brother, I think. Anyway, the mom's ex.
The mom's ex who was shoved on with her, going like,
it was just,
we don't want to deal with these two. Go, y'all stick together.
Yeah, there were little cues because, like, again, it's just like, okay, she's going to write his memoirs. And like, that's not that weird, I guess, except for she's 19, 20 years old. And she's spending a lot of time with a 30 to 40-year-old, according to her mother, very attractive man at one time who is no longer, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't still have the charisma of one, or whatever. And so I was like, okay, she's spending a lot of time with this guy. I didn't think that it was going to go like full blown into that direction. I thought maybe there would be some tension early on between him and the boyfriend, or maybe some tension between Nathan and him, but we obviously see, the end result. And so once I was okay, so they're spending a lot of time together. She's sneaking out. As soon as it mentioned her sneaking out after the boyfriend dropped her off, I knew she wasn't going back to his house. I was like, okay, she's going somewhere. She's probably going over to a guy's house. Who else does she have any sort of relationship with at all? And the only other one was him, for the most part. So I was like, it's probably him. And then I'm just gonna, write that down and bank on it. And then when, you started seeing a lot of that infatuation, from him towards Ruth, then I could start going, okay, so he is also living vicariously through Ruth, or I'm sorry, through Ariel, but in a different way. And so I was like, ugh. I mean, it's gross, it's icky, but it makes sense. And so once I sort of start seeing, okay, there's a relationship here, spending a lot of time here, the sister, the deaf sister, maybe can see her as a threat. And so I'm like, okay. So as soon as we knew that she was missing and I knew that she was probably going to be our victim, I was like, oh man, now it's like, I understood why, I just didn't really understand how, because they didn't explain the geography of the house to the river and those kind of things until later on.
Yeah.
So it made sense, but I just couldn't, like, what do they say about like court? It's not what's fair. It's about what you can prove. And that's kind of what I was like, okay, here's my theories, but I can't really prove it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I was dumb and didn't catch any of those clues in there. Looking back, I go like, oh yeah, it's obvious. That's what it was. But during the ride, I'm like, I don't know what's going on with this. And just like the same thing when they did the aha moment with the boyfriend, it was like, oh, the boyfriend is gay. And I was like, I didn't see that coming. I had no idea. And
maybe that was part of why I kind of figured out, because unfortunately that was spoiled to me pretty early on. Somebody had just sent me a message. They're like, hey, I'm not trying to spoil anything, but just know, like, there's a gay character in here. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't mind that as long as it's not like explicit or gratuitous. And so I was like, okay, if there's that, I guess that I probably had, an unfair advantage. Yes, 100%. I had a very unfair advantage because I knew there was a gay character in there, but I didn't know who it was. Kind of thought it was the blind guy for a little bit, and realized after there was some feelings there that maybe that wasn't the case. And so I was like, okay, who else can it be? And I'm like, okay, I actually thought it was the bully. I thought maybe his alibi was going to fall apart. Yeah. And so I was like, ooh, that'll be an interesting twist. But it still was interesting, just not in the way that I expected it.
Yeah. And I thought, like, it, as soon as they said it, and it was like, okay, they're in a small town. It is the 1960s. And it's like, okay, I get why she's helping him. And he's like, I'm just trying to stay under the radar until, I graduate or whatever his end goal was.
Yeah, I can get out of here
and get out of this town. So I was like, okay, it makes sense. It makes sense, kind of that situation, which then it's for me, that's when it started connecting of like, oh, she's with the ex. And that's what I was like, it was weird. It was nasty to me.
This is icky.
I'm curious because I have my thoughts on it. I think we're probably going to be the same thing. Whatever the ex name, for some reason, Carl keeps coming up in my head. But I keep thinking of The Walking Dead. Do you watch The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Carl is just in my head. So we'll just say the ex-boyfriend because it's probably not his name. I did not like how everyone forgave him so quickly. Within this, I understand. Like, I get the reasoning. I get. I want to forgive someone, but I felt like he was giving a lot of forgiveness and a lot of ease because it's like, oh, he's had a hard life, and it's like, yeah, but that's still kind of nasty. She was half your age.
So the brother, I've been wrong the whole time. The younger brother is Jake. It's been like, for anybody that's watching, we've both finished this end of November. And so this is a couple. So Jake is the younger brother. Ariel is the sister. Emil Brandt is the ex-fiance.
Emil.
Yes.
How did I get
and then his deaf mute sister is, I'm going to say it's Lisa is how you pronounce it. Lise. So I assume it's Lisa. But I think they had some sort of like, German descent or something like that. But anyway, yes. Yeah. It was the only person that I think like their forgiveness and the way that the aftermath was handled well was with Nathan, because even though he's like, look, I forgive you, but it was almost like, I forgive you because I must. And keep in mind, we are through like this, like we're done. And maybe for if somebody's watching up to this point and hasn't read the book, which I don't know why you would, but if you are, and you hear that, you're thinking, okay, that would be almost completely uncharacteristic. But for Nathan, that sort of was like his most extreme emotional response of this, is like, grace will be extended. Mercy and forgiveness is extended. I forgive you. However, this changes everything. And, I was like, okay, that was done well. Everybody else was sort of, I'm with you. I'm like, they were kind of like, okay. I'm like,
yeah,
really? Like, I mean, he probably should have been, I don't want to say like ousted out of town or whatever, but something.
There was nothing from a legality thing you could do. It's not like, I'm going to call the cops because you're a weirdo, but it was still nasty. Like, she was of age. So it's not like she was a child, but she was still a child. She was like 19. So it's like, I get the law says you're not a child anymore, but you're a 40-year-old
gross,
man.
dude.
Yeah. What are you doing? Like, you used to date her mom, and then y'all broke up, and she, like, it's, anyone else not think this is weird? And everyone's like, okay, cool. That
Oh, so they were together? It's like, what do you mean they were like, first of all, the age difference. Then this dude was blinded and completely like disfigured from war and helpless. And they're like, yeah, like makes total sense. I'm like,
no, he made excuses also. He also made excuses. He was like, listen, it was one time, and then she was stalking me. She stalked me.
Okay. You're talking about unreliable characters. It was just one time. Bull. Not no, it was not, sir. It might have been in his mind, but no, it definitely wasn't. Like, don't come at me with that. And you just happen to want her to come over to your house every day for 8 to 10 hours a day for the next 6 months. No,
so
get out of here.
They had a situation one time. I just want to make sure I'm understanding his perspective. It happened one time. He would go, she's just, I know she's standing outside creeping on the house. She's stalking me at night, but during the day, he's like, all right, we got to calm down, Ariel. I'm going to tell you my life story because I'm awesome. Let me tell you how awesome I am.
Yep.
And then he's like, but no, I could do anything again.
I was the best ladies man, and like, I was so handsome and dapper. And oh, by the way, did I tell you I was the greatest musician of all time? You're like, I have nothing to bring to the table at all. They're like, oh, don't pity me. Don't pity me. It's like, no, that is 100% what you want. You want pity from a 19-year-old girl because you're a freak.
Okay.
That was
glad it wasn't just me, because that was probably one of the big parts that pulled me out of it, going like, is no one else going to be annoyed with this? Like, everyone's cool. We're just going to let this go and keep going. All right, well, I guess that's what we're doing right now.
I will say some, like, even though the main mystery or whatever, I was kind of quick to, the rest of it was so far out of left field. What happened to her boyfriend? What happened to the bully? Really, what happened with everybody else? I was like, whoa, man, this is like horrible. And when you read the synopsis or somebody's telling you about this book, it's almost like when it first mentioned that there was going to be death and murder and those kind of things, where Frank had mentioned, he's like, well, I didn't know at the time that the town would be riddled with murder and death and lies and deceit. And you're like, okay, all of this is going to be because of whatever's about to happen. And it really wasn't. Some of it was, maybe even most of it was, but like the bully's end was perfect. It was absolutely perfect to, I didn't want to see the guy die or anything, but how he went out, he was just like, well, he was trying to escape, and you know what? He ended up just working at the factory, and he got killed in an accident because he was being stupid. It's like, oh man, that's horrible. And it is so insignificant. And that's kind of like, I was like, oh, that's horrible. And one of my favorite things was the very beginning is, I think it's chapter 1, and the little boy gets hit by a train. The little boy that has something wrong with him. And the whole time I'm sitting there going, we're going to find out that there's something nefarious going on because of him. And then you think, well, maybe it's the uncle that's like the Sioux Indian, or maybe it's like something's going on because he's got his glasses, and then this cop over here is kind of dirty and he's covering things up and he's making jokes, but then you never find out. It's just like, yeah, he just got hit by a train, and you're like,
yeah.
Oh,
just bad things happen. Yeah, just bad things happen sometimes. I've realized we went through this whole conversation without mentioning the way that they portray PTSD within this, with Nathan's military
war buddy.
It was because Nathan was the captain, or was he the captain? I don't remember. The guy reported up to Nathan.
Yes,
I can't recall his name. I really liked his character as well. He felt like that anchor point between pre-Nathan that we never got to meet, and then Nathan that we got to see, who was very forgiving to people. But whatever happened before really traumatized Nathan enough where it was like, I thought he was going to go, and then this is exactly what happened. I thought maybe we were going to have a flashback. It was like, no, just no. He's dealing with something day to day, and that's why he leans in so hard to his faith, and while he leans in so far into forgiving people because he can't forgive himself for whatever he went through and did.
Right. Yeah.
And it was like, I thoroughly enjoyed that connection that these two men had, because you really got to feel that they went through hell together. You could feel like Nathan, when he wasn't in the church, he was like, I gotta go lean on my buddy. And if I'm not mistaken, Gus ended up in jail at one point, and he was like, we got to go get Gus. And it was like,
early on,
why are you doing it? Is like, I have to get him. Like, he is, I felt like his second anchor that was holding Nathan up throughout the story.
Yeah. Did he call it? Was he captain or something, corporal or sergeant or something like that?
Yeah.
And like the way that Krueger set it up, it made you think that all that was going to be exposed, because there was that scene where I think it might've been after they got Gus out of jail and he had to clean his car out and all that. And then he gets home, and Nathan just kind of like sits on the bumper, and the boys are out there, and he's like, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask me. And then Frank, sort of his inner monologue, he's like, I wanted to ask him about what happened and what took place. And I know that he killed a bunch of people, and that, all that, and that he's trying to wrestle with this. And I don't know what happened with Gus, but then he sat there silent, and he said, boys, I just want you to know that I love you, and that you can come and ask me anything. I will tell you. But it won't make me look good. It'll make you see me completely different. And then they just kind of agreed, and it was like, and break. And then so he's like, okay, I gave you an opportunity. The door is still open. Come to me anytime. And they just kind of never did. I think by the end of it, when you kind of get the wrap up, I want to say that it actually explicitly said that he never talked about it, that he never asked him. I was like, oh, that is like, the greatest generation was the greatest generation for a reason. And to see Gus, Gus having to wrestle with it in a different way, and that he was subservient to Nathan because of whatever took place. And it was just this mystery around it. And then when you see Gus's girlfriend near the end or whatever, and you're like, okay, so he has something else to anchor to now. Like you said, like he's got Nathan, but Nathan knows at this point that they can't stay there. And so, there was that concern of, well, what's going to happen to Gus? And he's like, Gus is going to be fine. And the boys they're like, what do you mean he's going to be fine? And then they meet her and they're like, oh, okay. So it's like the female Gus.
Yeah.
So that was so perfect. And his wrap up was one of my favorites. Yeah, his and his then wife's wrap up. I was like, yeah, very, very well done.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed having the wrap up at the end.
Yes,
I really enjoyed those, like him going, all right, let me let you know where everyone landed at the end of this, instead of it just being, and that was the end of the summer, and then the book ended. I would have been so annoyed. Like, what do you mean and that was the end? Like, are you still messed up? Like, what happened to you? Like, what happened to Jake? So there was one part within this that Jake had a stutter. I think we mentioned this, that he had a stutter throughout the whole story, and then at the end, his stutter went away during a crucial moment within the story. Did you feel that had a meaning to it? Did you feel like that was grace? Was that just him being courageous in the moment? Like, what was your thought process when that scene occurred?
Maybe the answer is yes. It's like, yeah, it was the Rubicon of the book. You almost think if you're reading it, you think Ariel's death was the Rubicon. Okay. Like, there's no returning at this point. And this is the pivotal moment. And it was a pivotal moment. And it was the pivotal moment, or at least we were led to believe that it was, until that point. And everything came to a head, and it was, okay, we're back at the house. We're trying to have dinner or whatever after the funeral, after she's buried, and all these horrible things are taking place. And then you get the tension from Ruth and Nathan again in the house, just like, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that's how she was introduced, was that you had the tension in the kitchen in a very similar fashion. And it was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to pray for us now? Like, who's going to, and Carl was just like, or Jake, I'm sorry. He was just like, I'll do it. Like, I'll do it. And it wasn't even like, I mean, I guess I will. It's like, well, like, that's who we are. That's who we are. Like, of course I'll pray. And then he did it flawlessly. I think that if that moment went by somebody, that they need to read it again. It's like, yes, obviously when Krueger says it's that ordinary grace that you see, it's like, okay, well, this is the crux of the story here, is to see grace in action, and that it isn't an instant, but that it's a continuation. And with Carl, or I keep calling him Carl, with Jake, and he says, like, I'll do it. Yeah, so Carl was Ariel's boyfriend. I knew he was somebody.
So Carl wasn't okay. So I'm not losing my mind. All right. So
he was Carl Brandt.
Yeah.
But so when Jake said, I'll do it, and he did it flawlessly, it transformed his mother, and it transformed his father, and it transformed Frank and Gus. It was like everybody that was in the room, it changed them. And then you kind of realize Jake was the only one that wasn't transformed internally. He was transformed externally at that moment, because his stutter went away. But at that moment, you realize who he is. Like, Jake was the one that had the courage, even when Nathan may have faltered, or he had the opportunity to. And because he did his good and faithful work as a father, like, his son's like, well, of course I'll do it. Of course. So I would say yes to all of the above. Like, it had a deeper meaning. And I think it's one of those moments where after you close the book, you revisit that moment, several weeks later. Like, I still catch myself every once in a while, like even my little nephews that are probably about his age, when we pray over our food or whatever, and we get one of them to do it. The past few weeks, it's popped in my head. I'm like, to hear a simple, sincere prayer from the mouth of a child that isn't there for pomp, circumstance, accolade, or any of that. He's just doing what he knows is true, and he's praying to God and saying, we know that you have all these things in your hands. Help us understand. And he was just like, Father, we love you and we thank you for what you've done and for what you've given us, and help us to understand the things that you've taken away. And you're like, oh, yeah, somebody's cutting onions again.
I was going through and thinking, would the story have been the same?
Ooh, yes.
If Nathan wasn't a pastor, if he was an accountant, would the story have hit the same? I don't think it would have.
I don't think so either.
I don't think like, because at least from my perspective, it wasn't that he was just a faithful and religious man. He was the pastor for the people. Like, you had people coming to him when the first death occurred.
Yeah.
And he was the one that was trying to make people feel better, going through and trying to explain it, because it's hard to go through and wrap your head around just someone just having an accident that went through and killed a child. So I don't think it would have been the same. It wouldn't have had that same anger with Ruth if he wasn't. I feel like the whole story wouldn't have hit as hard if he wasn't embedded within the church and the community. Just curious on your thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a friend, a very good friend of mine, a coworker years ago that died of a heart attack at 28. They say it was a heart attack. They really still have no idea. He just fell over dead. And, thankfully, he accepted Christ, like not even a month before. Got to have a good conversation with him, and praise God, he's like, I submit myself to the truth of the scriptures. And, then, so he just falls over dead one day, and like, it's a story in itself, but he literally, the last thing that he said, he was working on his house with his uncle, and he was telling his uncle about his salvifical experience. He's like, I'm not good at articulating this. He's like, just promise me you'll have lunch with my buddy Josh. And because he can explain it way better. And then he's like, if you don't care, let's kneel down and pray beforehand. And he's like, I don't have anything against prayer, I don't guess, but the guy wasn't a Christian. And he said, we stood up, he said, amen. We stood up, I went and got on my tractor, and I turned and looked, and he looked up and he fell over dead. It's the last thing he said. And I'm like, that's the way I want to go, And so for me, being the individual that was fortunate enough to be able to present the gospel to somebody, his wife called me and she wanted me to do the funeral. And I'm like 24, 25 years old. And so I don't know what I'm doing, and fairly new to the Christian faith, like within 5 years. And so I'm sitting there trying to like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do I tell her? They've got 2 little kids. His daughter was like 4 and his son was 6 months old. Like I know what's true. I know the truth of the matter is that, like, God has a good and perfect plan for everybody. It may not look good and to us at the time, but we know that we just have to know and trust that it is. And now, how do I articulate that to a spouse she's now a single mother and a widower, and she's, and so I got some good counsel. I say all that to say this: when that took place with the little boy in the train, and at no point did Nathan, when he was doing his visitations and things, did he say, hey, let me explain why this happened. Let me explain why this is good. And he didn't do that. What he did was, he's like, I love you and I'm here for you. And let's just be in the moment together and love one another. And if you need anything, like, I will be here until you tell me to leave. And I will be that comfort, not because I'm the comfort, but because I want to point you to the one that brings us comfort. And so to see that with him, it was extremely personal, because I had to deal with something in a similar vein. I was like, you know what? I love you. And I know my friend, his name was Josh, and I know Josh loved you and he loved the kids, and I'm so sorry. And like, let's just be together, and let's just, we can pray. I'll just sit here quiet with you. I'll just, whatever I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, much later, she was able to sort of express some questions without being completely obliterated with sorrow in the time. And so to see kind of how Nathan was able to articulate that, as well as he's like, I'm not, the character didn't go over there and say, well, this is what God did and why he did it. And he was like, I just love you. And so does he. And I'm so sorry. And then that was like it, I'm like, oh, that was, it was right. And I don't know how else to explain that, because that sounds super, super like egotistical. Like, look what I did. It's not that. It's, and it's more of, it's less of like, I want to be right, and more of, I want to know what's right and then do that thing. And so with Nathan, when those kind of things occurred, in all of the different instances, he did what was right, not because he made the decision, but he just followed what he knew was true and good and right. And so that, because of that, we could like have that connection. Like, okay, Nathan is a righteous man. He's a righteous man who's, David would say, is a man after his own heart. So he's a righteous man that seeks after God. Is he perfect? Look at his family. Of course he's not, of course he's not. His family's like barely on stilts at this point, and here comes a hurricane, you know? And so like, but just to see him wrestling with those things, and going, okay, what is right? And then now I need to do that, even when it's not comfortable. With Emil, what is right? Okay, this guy, he confessed finally to what was going on and how debased this character is. I'm sure he wanted to strangle him. Again, I'm speaking about fictional characters, but I'm sure if he was real, he would want to do what any father would want to do at that moment. And instead he goes, what's right? That's what I'm going to do. And I don't like it. I don't like that I'm supposed to forgive this guy, but I do have to actually forgive him. A lot of people say, well, I'll forgive him, but I'm not going to forget. A lot of people say that, and what they really mean is, I'm not going to forgive him.
Yeah.
But with Nathan, he was like, I forgive you. And I believed it as the reader. But
I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, do it.
So what I really love, like, for him, I know I complained that I didn't like how the community was okay with it, but for him specifically, knowing his past that he had with Gus, the restraint and the change that he officially went through, of like, nothing's going to be worse than this moment right now. Like, I feel like that was his biggest test.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. His biggest test of like, did you really go through and change who you are? This is the moment. And the fact that he said, all right, I forgive you, immediately made it go, from my perspective, that really like got goosebumps. So like, okay, like he actually is being truthful in what he is preaching and what he's actually going through and saying. And it's not just a smoke mirror. It's not a playing card that Ruth thought it was the whole time, of like, you're just faking this. Like, no. It's like, he's for real of who he actually is.
Yeah. It's that it made me go, man, a fictional character is doing it better than me. It's like, he's doing it way better than I would. And it's just me being honest, and I did love that, because you had all of that backstory of World War II, that you sort of, for a moment, in a different universe, Nathan could have taken a very different turn. And so like, you've probably seen the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's my favorite part of that movie is in the beginning. It's like the super violent, brutal scene, but, not that part in particular. It's immediately after, because at the beginning of the movie, he's got all these kids, and these kids are like, my dad's my hero. He's this big, like, softy and he just loves all of us. And he's just so goes out of his way to help everybody and blah, blah, blah. Like he's the perfect man. He's so gentle and kind with everybody. And then something terrible happens. And then he unleashes, he shows what a monster is within him. And my favorite part of the movie is after he gets through with, you know, the soldiers and he comes home, his little girl doesn't say anything. She just looks at him and she's mortified. She's terrified of him the rest of the film. And I'm like, it's not because he was different. It's because now she sees what he's capable of. And so with Nathan, you're like, okay, we know this guy's capable of mowing down at least 10 to 15 men from the one little snippet of a story that we got. What's he, you know, what's about to happen here, you know? And I think that has, was one of those moments where I was kind of wrestling with it myself is, okay, if that were me, what would I do? And it's probably not what he did. How would I handle it? And then how ought I handle those things? And the correct answer is the way that he did. So yeah, that was, I was like, oh man, maybe we're about to see Nathan unleashed a little, but he was, like you said, he was just the restraint that he showed. We won't even know the extent because we don't know all of the context behind it.
Yeah, we didn't live the fictional, this person's not real, but going through and living the life that he did up to that point. And the daily struggles, because I have a lot of friends that's military or ex-military now, and the situations they went through was intense. No, I personally couldn't have gone through and being a civil person in society like they are now. So I don't understand from personal experience, but I understand from talking with other people and about their experience. So when he's going through and when him and Gus have that bond, I see that with childhood friends that I grew up with. I didn't go off to war like they did, but they have, even though I know this guy, I've known him my whole life, but he has closer connection with the people who he was in the trenches with because they just have a different type of bond. And I feel like that's what I felt is done so well within this. You see that bond and you understand that connection. And then Nathan having that capability and that skill set to be like, all right, I'm flipping the switch. It's about to go down. But instead he goes, it's fine. I'm going to keep the switch off. I'm going to keep going down the path that I know is right.
That's why I loved Gus though. Because Gus was like, Frank went to Gus and he's like, Gus, that cop. And he was like, I'm on it. And he's like, he's like, time to bust some skulls. Like, I absolutely love that. They were like, what do you do? You're in jail now. He's like, yeah, I assaulted a police officer. And it is what it is. I was like, okay, that guy, like he is more of my spirit animal, unfortunately. He's like, okay, Frank, you're in trouble. All right, let's go cave some heads. Like, I'm here for it. Tell your dad to come get me out of jail.
I'll be back, or come get me later. You know where I'm going to be. Yeah.
Well, what did you think as far as like, from, because I've asked a few people this, Ruth's parents, what did you think about their, I guess like how they wrestled with being the in-laws, yet they almost felt like they had a vote in the family constantly, you know, because daddy had money or whatever. Like, what did you think about the in-laws?
Short version, I wasn't a huge fan of the in-laws, to be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of individuals who think money is the answer to all problems.
Yeah.
That, oh, I have money, I can kind of do whatever I want to do because I can just get out of the situations like that. So unfortunately, not my in-laws, they're fantastic. But I know people like that in my personal life. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of them. I don't like how they feel they're okay with just leaning in and feeling like they're a part of the family, but they're not. This is not your core.
Mhm.
This You are an extension of it. Yeah, I wasn't a fan, to be
Mm.
all transparent. Did you have
I wasn't either. I don't think we were necessarily supposed to be. I felt more, um, empathy for I guess it'd be like the mother-in-law that
Mhm.
I think she was quite a bit younger or something maybe. And, the boys didn't really see her as grandma. I think they called her by her first name maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but I just kind of wondered, like, if I were to talk to William Kent Krueger, I think one of the questions I would ask is why, because they didn't play a huge role in the story. Why did maybe they just not be completely excluded? I'm not saying they should have been. I'm curious as to why, because really ultimately they kind of just were a
there.
plot device for Ruth to take off,
Yeah.
for her to have a home base. So I
Yeah.
almost wonder why they weren't just sort of written way out, like, hey, I'm going to go stay with my parents. Um, I don't know if it's because of
Mm.
their, like, how their location or what. I thought that was odd, because there was a few times where they saw quite a bit of page time, like when the boys would go over there and work and
Yeah.
those types of things. I'm like, okay, because I kind of thought maybe that was supposed to go somewhere, and kind of it just kind of didn't. You just kind of like, here are some characters. I thought they were fine, but I just didn't really understand their role, other than to be that
I
home
think that's
base
the
for her.
point. I think that's the point. We said this, so we've said this 3 times, I feel like, with different characters in the story. We don't understand why they were in there. They were just there. Like the uncle, the Indian
Mhm.
guy, same thing with him. Outside of being like, just look over here. I think it's just showing the community and going through
Mm.
and showing there's more people involved in this small town and up in everyone's business than just the main cast of characters that we went through and had. Because I feel like, yeah, we could have taken out a few situations within this story, even though it was only 300 some pages.
Yeah.
There was a lot of world building
Hmm.
that could have just
Minnesotan
been,
world building.
yeah, could have just been cut out of the whole story in
Yeah.
general. But I enjoyed it. I
Me
enjoy
too.
those kind of
Same.
things where it's like you understand a little bit more, because again, don't like Ruth's parents. Not a big fan of those type of people, but you understand a little bit more of why Ruth is the way that she is
Mm.
compared to the
Yeah.
life she's living. So she grew up with like parents that
Hmm.
were a little bit well off. So in her mind, it was, I need to get that. And that's why she felt so disconnected with her life that she was living now, because she's like, we're not doing well. We don't have money and stuff. Instead, we have a church and faith.
Hmm.
What do you mean we're how are we happy here? But
Yes. Yeah.
Nathan,
Notoriety almost equaled purpose for
right.
her, for him, for her dad, definitely. But like, even, she rejected the Christian faith, and yet, because she's the pastor's wife, well, I'm going to take charge of the music.
Yeah.
And not only that, like, my music's going to be better than everybody else's. And so it was definitely her, like, her purpose was that, claim to fame, seeking affirmation from everybody else. But yeah, it did just kind of throw me for a loop, because I was waiting for something, and it
Mhm.
just kind of little things, like, they made mention of, well, her stepmother or whatever is way younger, and I was like, okay, so
Mhm.
maybe it was just, yeah, this is just lived in. This is just,
Yep.
here you go. Here's small town USA,
Mhm.
which was, I mean, like you said, I enjoyed it as well. I just kind of was like, I wonder why they're here.
Yeah, I think it was just that showing it was lived in and being like, hey, during the summer, it wasn't all just about death. Sometimes it was just hanging out at grandma's house, you know?
Maybe so.
You
Maybe
know?
so.
Um, yeah, I don't feel like there was any reasoning to it other than to feel more lived in
Mm.
within the story. All right. I can't think of anything else within that I wanted to go through and talk about with this.
I
Um,
got one more.
yeah, man, what you
I want to know in depth the impact
Uh-oh.
of Ariel's death.
Oh, it hurt. It hurt.
Yeah.
It was one of these where I just hit the book and I put the book down and I was like, I'm going to bed. And I just like crawled over and went to sleep. No, it hurt. It hurt. Again, I think it was tougher. I feel like this would have hit differently if I wasn't a father.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yep.
I feel like that's what really and I hate, like not hate. I don't like using that as a crutch of going like, if you don't have kids, you don't understand. But it's like it's just,
yeah, but there's
different.
truth in that.
Yeah, it hits differently. So it's like growing up, I've known multiple people, from friends and as an adult, other parents who've lost children. So I've seen it from both sides of being a kid and seeing friends lose siblings or neighbors lose kids, and then seeing it as an adult. And it just like, it's hard to go through. It brings back memories. And then you think about, how would I be in if this situation happened to me, which is, as a parent, it's the worst thing to go through and think of, but it doesn't, at least for me, it's always in my head. Anytime my kids are out of the house, I'm thinking about like, I hope they're good. I hope they're safe. Hope, they're making the right choice. It's just like always in your mind.
I think every parent too, at some point when like, your kids will be sleeping in their bedroom, especially when they're toddlers or, toddlers or younger, they'll just be asleep and nothing's going on. And maybe even you're asleep and you either wake up or just all of a sudden you're like, I gotta go check on them. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I gotta go check on them right now because maybe they stop breathing or maybe they're, it's that constant. There's that sense of dread there. I can't remember what movie it's from, but the quote has stuck with me for years where somebody said, no parent should have to bury their child. And I was like, oh my God. So when I got to that scene, you see the buildup and all the stuff and it's coming. And then when it comes, but when it finally hit, it hit way harder than I expected.
The whole of Nathan seeing it and then going through and telling Jake, like, just go,
man.
Like, he protecting his younger brother, going,
Yep. Stop.
Stop.
Go get dad.
Go. And he's like, no. Let me see. And you like, you don't know. Go. Go. And that part.
Yep.
Hit me.
Yes.
Really hard.
Yeah.
Of going through, definitely being like the older sibling of going through. It's like, oh, I'm done. I'm protecting you. I'm protecting you from this situation. It was,
because you can never unsee it. And he knew that. And I think he even articulated that a little bit. It's like, he can never unsee that. Saw her red hair in the water and the dress. And I was just like, so when my wife and I tend to go to bed around 11 o'clock. And so we, most of the time are reading, or every once in a while we'll watch something together. But most of the time we're reading. And so, like I said, I'm sitting in my recliner and I'm reading on my Kindle, and it's like 9:30, 9:45, which you and I have talked about this. We texted back and forth. Other people that have not seen this yet, you're about to find out how big of a baby I am, because because Josh finished it before I did. And so he was like, get ready. And I'm like, oh crap. So I'm sitting there reading and I'm like, dude, okay, it's coming. And so I texted you, I texted Sam, and I think I texted Matt Pittman and Preacher, because Preacher had kind of warned me ahead of time. And so I'm like, okay, I'm at what I think is about to be the big chapter. And every single one of them were like, okay, man, just hold on to your seat. And so I was like, okay, it's, I think it's going to be pretty heavy. But when I finished that chapter, and it was exactly what you said, it was when he told his brother, go get dad, and stop where you're at. Go get dad. I'll be here waiting. I couldn't even get to the next chapter where he has to go and identify his daughter at like 9:45. I'm sitting there and my eye, like I wasn't welling up. Like I was like, there were tears streaming down my face, and I'm sitting there and I just go, yep. I just closed the book and I put it down, and my wife looks at me and she was like, you all right? I was like, I have never in my life, never read a book apart from scripture where I have read something, especially being fiction, that affected me so much. I could not continue. Like I had to close the book, and I put it down for, I think like a day and a half. I was like, man, that was so heavy. And I just put it down, and I was telling my pastor's wife, she was interested in it. And I'm like, look, there's a really hard scene, especially they've got 3 girls. And so I'm like, I'm just going to tell you, it was really, really hard for me to read. I'm glad that obviously glad that I pushed past it, but it was like, that's why when I do my little rating system, and I was talking about how heavy this book was, like, it was hard for me not to go, it's a 10 out of 10 as far as heaviness, because like, yeah, it broke me as well. I think so. Boy's Life has a couple of heavy moments like that. I think as far as having that gut punch, this takes the cake of everything that I've read. And it was just, it wrecked me so hard. Thankful, but I'm like, I don't know that I want to keep reading him, because he's hurting my feelings.
Yeah, he does. He writes, the only other author that I've gone through and read that writes characters as well as this is Frederick Bachman. Out of those two, I don't see any. I've not read anyone else that really can hit me in the feels as well, and does characters so well, where it's not just the main cast, but like everyone feels like, oh, these are all real people with their own trauma. Those two are the only two that I've gone through and read that I'm like, I'm about to be in my feels with this, and it's going to be tough. Because that's what happened when I first. So I read Bachman earlier this year, and I read Beartown, and that one wrecked me. Have you read Beartown?
I haven't. I've got it, but no, I haven't read it yet.
That one wrecked me too. And then I have 2. I'm gonna read 2 more next year, because I don't know. I like that a story can bring out that type of emotion.
Yeah.
And you don't get that. You don't get that with fantasy and sci-fi and the normal malarkey that we go through.
Yeah. That's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, hey, we're reading about space wizards and dragons. Like, maybe we can't take ourselves super serious. Like, there's some good themes there and all that, but like, it's still dragons and wizards at heart.
Yeah. It's still people wearing goofy hats.
Yeah, but I'm kind of with you. Like, I've caught myself the past year in particular, because I've read a lot of the bigger series, or I say more popular, I guess, that I almost go to my palate cleansers, not just more frequently than I used to, but almost more frequently than my standard sci-fi fantasy. I don't know if it's my tastes are changing, or I'm getting older, or some combination of the two, but like, I have been chasing Boy's Life for a while. And that's why when this hit all of those notes, I'm like, okay, now I got to find something similar. Preacher actually told me that Krueger's, I think this is a new book that he put out, maybe, or it's a newer one. He just finished it, and he's like, okay, if you liked Ordinary Grace, you're going to love this one as well. I'm like, okay, I don't know that I'm emotionally ready for that yet, but I will add it to the list. And I think he just finished it. It's got like a blue and purplish kind of sunset background, I think.
I'm going to go through and see so I can add it to the list, because I heard he has a series. There's a series that he has. Grifton was telling me about it. And so it just came out 2025, Apostles Cove.
Yes.
I think that one just came out. And it's his 20. Okay, so this is part of the Cork O'Connor mystery series. So this is what Grifton was telling me about. So there's how many 20 books in this series? But they can be read as standalone. Yeah, but they could be standalone stories as well. So it's on my list of going through. I'm going to try to maybe check out more of his. So yeah, it's probably going to be palate cleansers types of stories.
Yeah,
leaning into some of these. But yeah, I'm the same way, man. Like, I think it's burnout is real when it comes to certain genres, and I try to go through and switch up what I go through and read, but it's still in the same playground as sci-fi, fantasy, thriller, horror, and it's like I jump between those. And then now that I sprinkle in contemporary in there, it's like, all right, let's keep expanding what I'm consuming, where I'm getting different feelings, different perspectives, and it's making my reading experience more fun, honestly.
Yeah, that's what somebody explained it to me this way. They were talking about how they found their taste in food. And they're like, "Well, I knew as a kid that I like chicken fingers and french fries." And so like with reading, he was like, I knew that I like Lord of the Rings. So I just started Google searching something similar. And so they sort of stayed in that same vein. And then every once in a while they'd reach out because somebody would recommend A Boy's Life or a whatever, some sort of mystery thriller, a Dennis Lehane or something like that, or Lonesome Dove. And then they go, wow, okay, so it's not just magic and those kind of stories I like, but I just really like a good story. And so what else is out there? And then, with that comes, you're going to find that there are some things that your palate dislikes, but your palate begins to expand. And I think that's what's happened for me as well, especially this year, because like Sun Eater is still in the same realm, but it's different because it's the character work and all that kind of stuff. So when we were talking about like months ago about doing a buddy read, I was in the same vein. I'm like, let's do something let's just throw something at the wall and see what sticks. Let's do something completely outside the wheelhouse and see if, and thankfully we landed on, for me, it was a 5-star read. So yeah, very, very glad that we jumped on that one. Preacher did say that if we liked this, that we would like Demon Copperhead. So I own that. I was planning on reading it.
I'm reading it in when am I reading Demon Copperhead? January, I think. January. I plan on reading in January.
I may jump on that with you because that one was like a contender for me. I'm like, I want something like that. But after I read this, because I was like, oh, I'll read it in December. I'm like, no, I need to wait.
I was the exact same situation. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And I was like, I think I'm just going to continue series I've already read and know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, I need some more funny hats.
Yeah, I was like, I need pointy hats superheroes. So that's what I've been going through and doing. But no, it's on. I plan on January being the month that's going to destroy me because I'm going to read Demon Copperhead, and then I'm also going to read Frederick Bachman's My Friends, which is about childhood friends, and I guess they're experiencing something. Don't know exactly what it's about, but that one's supposed to be a gut punch also. And then there's a few other ones. I can't recall what's the other ones that's on the list. I can't remember. But there's going to be a few other ones. So yeah, January's going to be the month of like, I'm probably going to be destroyed and going to need to, have some quiet time to myself. Yeah. Some quiet time to myself.
So Mystic River, the movie that I mentioned, it's an adaptation of Dennis Lehane's book. I plan on reading that. I don't know when, because he did that. He did Shutter Island, which I watched that movie, loved it. And a friend of mine on Instagram said, well, if you like the movie, you'll love the book. It is spoiled, but if you don't care and you're just here for the story, you'll still love it. So I think Dennis Lehane, I'm trying to, it was Josh over at Red Fury Books. I think he raves over Dennis Lehane. And so I've just slowly accumulated a few of his books. And so whenever I feel like I need to get wrecked as well, I think I'm going to pick one of those up.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. So cool. We'll connect again, in a few weeks and see if you're down to go through and we can read it and, see if we want to do something like this again in January. I think it'll be fun. What else are you reading? What's the rest of the plans? Are you reading anything for the rest of the year?
I got Sun Eater that I'm trying to plow through. It is way longer than I thought. It's super good.
It's thick, isn't it? It's like a Way of Kings size.
I did not realize that. And because I've just got the ebook, because I've got the broken binding editions of the other ones. So I'm not going to buy the hardcover. I'll just wait until they release other ones. So I've got the ebook, and I noticed that, man, I read for like an hour and a half straight, and I'd made it 1% more on my Kindle. And I was like, oh no. So it's a long one. So I'm reading that. And then my friend Zeke, I did like a little group chat with just some guys that are subscribers, and he picked a book for me called Inkheart, and it's a middle grade, and it's awesome. It's kind of exactly what I need. It's whimsical. It's got a little bit of some eeriness to it, but it's lighthearted as far as like, it's not something where you have to really chew on, where Sun Eater, you kind of get that, especially with this being the last book. And I think sort of the gloves are off with Rockio in this last one. And so I think they're like, hey, he's wrapping it up. He can do what he wants. For me personally, the beginning is kind of slowing me down some. It's not discouraging me. It's just slowing me down. So I think I'm on chapter like 20 something, and there's a bunch. But I'll finish that up. I'm going to do Inkheart. And then I've got 2 more that some viewers picked for me. One was Combat Codes by Alexander Darwin, and the other is Jim Butcher's book 1 of Cinder Spires. The problem is that here it is. I've got the old cover. The problem is that this one is another huge, thick book. So I don't know. I think I may just push this off till January and just kind of shift my TBR, because I think it's like, it's like 600 and something pages. And I'm like, man, I just don't know. I think I need a break from these super long books. But I will say Jim Butcher reads super fast. So, maybe I can get to it. We'll see. I'm off for about 2 weeks here pretty soon. So I'm not really worried about it.
You've got all the time in the world to go through and knock those
dude, I'm such a slow reader, and I have ADHD so bad. I'll sit down and read a chapter. I'm like, I gotta get up and do something. So maybe I hope to plow through probably Sun Eater. I'm going to finish Inkheart probably the next day or 2, and then start one of those others, probably Combat Codes. We'll just see, because it's sci-fi. I kind of want a break. Sun Eater is taking up a lot of that it's occupying a lot of that space.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I'll do like a Dennis Lehane mystery, or just something that's kind of one-off and easy. But yeah, hopefully it's a pretty relaxed. What about you? I know you've got this. First of all, how in the world do you read like 10 books a week?
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
I feel judgment right now, and I don't read 10 books a week. I might read 4. So let's be
not.
Okay. So no. So, I also stay up till 11 o'clock at night, every night. And I get up around 4:30 in the morning.
Ooh, okay.
So I don't, outside of sports, if I'm not watching sports, I am reading. So I don't watch a lot of TV. If the kids are watching Bluey or whatever they're watching on TV, I'm sitting here reading. So like before this conversation, they were watching Bluey, and I was sitting on the couch reading on the Kindle, and I was going through, and I went through and read a couple hundred pages of a book. So it's just whenever I have time, I'm sitting down on the couch, and if I'm not playing games with the kids or doing anything like laundry or something, I'm reading.
Yeah.
So
same. I try to do something. My problem is that I have to have like, I listen to some sort of soundtrack or something while I'm reading, just because like if the TV's going, I'm distracted, especially if I'm sitting in there with them and they're watching, like they've been watching a couple Christmas movies that I'm just like, you guys go right ahead. I don't need to see Fred Claus or whatever. You guys can watch.
Oh, they're not watching the claymations. That's what they're watching at the house. Like,
Rudolph is coming up, buddy.
And it's like, all they're doing is watching these claymations. And I'm just, I don't know. I guess for me, I don't need anything. I just can zone out, where it's just like,
I wish I could
into it. And it's just like, the whole world is just like gone. And it's just
so
like,
I will say there's something to listening to it, because it's almost like watching a movie but it also, I think I may do a video on this. It also, I think has altered my perception of a book, because for instance, Inkheart, my friend Zeke, he was like, it's middle grade. It's a light read. It's not that big of a deal. You'll fly through it. Okay. And so I knew it was kind of fairy tale-y, and the synopsis read almost like never ending story. And so when I was sitting there reading it, or like reading the synopsis, I'm like, okay, I need something that's kind of like a creepy fairy tale soundtrack. There's just not a lot going on. And so I turned it on, and it's like this eerie music box going on, almost Pan's Labyrinth going on in the background. And so I'm reading it, and I'm like a third of the way through the book now. And I'm like, dude, this book is creepy, And so I said that, and my buddy Zeke, he was like, I didn't get that. He's like, I don't think it was creepy at all. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's just my demented mind have to go to
music,
that place to read it, But I will say the like Sun Eater, I've been listening to Interstellar. They have like Interstellar ambience, and it's this real epic. Oh, dude, that's the way to do it. It's made it. The epic moments are far more epic when that music is going in the background. But my wife can't stand it, because she's like, if we're both reading, she has to have silence. And so I'm like, hey, I may turn something on the TV and it's on for 30 seconds. She's like, will you please put your headphones in? I'm sorry.
I am really excited for, because aren't you doing a video coming up of your wife's favorite books?
So yeah, we recorded it Sunday, and I should have it out Friday. I'm going to try to. She reads almost exclusively reads like Christian fiction. It's not Christian romance like the redeeming love and all those kind of things, which she has read those. Most of the time she's reading Christian romance that has some sort of mystery in it. So I almost think of it as like Agatha Christie, Jane Austen, maybe with a murder thrown in there. But it's clean. And so I think out of her top 10, I think all but 2 were like Christian romance kind of things. But that's what I told her. I'm like, I think there may be some men who have wives that like to read but don't really know where to reach. And so she's like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, no, I need to grab my wife some books. So she's getting more into reading now, and it's we haven't figured out what she's into yet. She hasn't found that her niche since she started reading, because she used to read a lot, but then college kind of ruined it for her, because she's a nurse, so all they had to do was read, and she's like, I'm not reading anything. And then now, decades later, she's like, I guess like we can try this reading thing. So I tried getting her to read some of my pointy hat books, but she doesn't like those. So
yeah, my wife, I got her to read The Hobbit, and she didn't even get like halfway through. She's like, this is stupid. I'm like, oh, I definitely am not going to give you Lord of the Rings then. I wasn't going to suggest that.
I started with Red Rising. I'm like, everyone loves Red Rising.
Yeah.
So I gave it to her, and she got a few chapters, and she's like, this is stupid. I'm like, okay, we'll try again. We'll try something else.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm trying to find something, because I keep trying to sell her a book. I'm like, I pick a book, and I'm like, no, let me explain to this one. And I go through and explain it. I'm like, and she goes, you can put it on the desk. I might pick it up. I'm like, that's a no. All right, let me try something else. I'll try something else.
One of the ones she recommended, and like I said, the video should come out Friday. I've got to edit it. But there's one, it's called Fairest of Heart, and it is a Snow White retelling. It's like it's Christian romance, but it's not like, my wife will be the first one to tell you, like, Christian books, if they're cheesy and they stink, she'll tell you they stink. But it's called Fairest of Heart. I think it's Karen Whitmeyer. It's spelled Witmeyer. And she doesn't look at her book covers. And so when she picked it up, she just picked it up because it sounded good. And she got like halfway through it, and then she was like, okay, I think this is Snow White. And then she looked at the cover and she goes, okay, this is definitely Snow White. But she said, as soon as that happened, I knew it was going to be hokey and blah, blah, blah. And she said, I got to the end of it and it wasn't. And it was so well done. There was no like fantasy element to it, because it's based in Texas after the Civil War or something. And so immediately after that, I bought her the next 2 in the series. And it's like, it follows like the Disney princesses. And so she read that one. And I think they had like a Beauty and the Beast one and that kind of stuff. And so she is eating those up. And she actually said, if I can recommend a book that I think would get ladies into reading, like, this would be a good place to start, because you kind of if you like Snow White, but you want something a little bit different, but has a similar taste or flavor to it, then this is a good way to go. So she's sold out with those. Pretty good.
Cool. I'm going to have to try something, because it's funny, because we go through and I get like 10 books from the library, and I go, you will like one of these. And then I just like throw it at her. And then she goes, so it's like, it's all over the place. So yeah, I need some more ideas, because there's only so much romantasy sites I can go on to. And I'm like, she goes, I don't like this. I'm like, this is the number one romantasy book out there. And she goes, it's stupid. I go, okay, well, that's not it. So maybe this might be it. This might be it. But yeah, she read, what was it? Fourth Wing. And I was like, everyone loves this. Like, everyone loves this book. I haven't read it, but everyone loves it. And then she got a fourth of the way through, and she's like, I can't force myself to read this anymore. I was like, okay, good deal.
Yeah. And break.
Yeah. I was like, all right, well, we'll keep looking. we'll
Makes
keep
you feel
looking.
this big too,
Yeah.
you know, like you would love this. And no, I would not.
Yeah. She goes, okay, I'll take it. And like, there's times I get like, I go through and I go, all right, I'm going to read this to you and see if this one works. And then she goes, I don't know, maybe. And I'm like, all right, we'll see. I'll get it from the library. I listen, EL, I do ask her what her interests are. So she likes Pride and Prejudice is her favorite book.
Ooh,
Loves
okay.
Pride and Prejudice. That
I
she loves
have,
time period pieces. She needs it to have romance, but not raunchy. You know what I mean? Like there
yep.
has to be some kind of love interest there, but she
There
doesn't
are,
want it to be grotesque kind of. She doesn't want that. She wants like he touched her arm and caressed her
yes.
hand, and she gets a feeling, and that's the kind of I don't read that, so I don't know.
Right. Well, so there are some Jane Austen retellings that my wife has begged to, or I say begged, like they're on her Christmas list.
Yeah.
And they have they have all of her main catalog. So there are some retellings, some Jane Austen retellings that are modern, and apparently it's like a home run. They've been flying off the shelves. So I mean, maybe I can't remember who wrote them. I'll text you or something.
Yeah.
But my wife is like, yeah, that's what I want, because I know that I like these books, and so let me see if they can do a modern take. And a lot of the books that actually most of the books my wife reads are period pieces. They have sort of like the Downton Abbey
that's
deal.
what she likes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So maybe she'll find something on the list, or maybe she'll be like, that list stinks.
Well, I will let you know. So I plan on grabbing all of them that's on the list, and then go to the library and going like, all right, let's see if you and Josh's wife have the same interest. And if so,
it's meant to be, because both of our names are Josh. So they have to like the same thing.
There's so much in common. I feel like it has to work. If it is, it's going to be perfect. Because I'm like, awesome. Y'all need to connect. And when you read a dumb book, you can tell the other one about this dumb book.
And then we'll talk about our funny hat books.
Yeah, pointy hat books. It'll be amazing. Yeah. So we'll see. That's fun. So I'm excited. For it. Awesome, man. Well, you got any good big videos coming out for the rest of the year? Anything?
I have a really cool one that you already know about that's coming out next Wednesday. So one that you have helped me with. That is going to be one of my favorites of the year. There's some guests that have helped out that I was honestly surprised agreed to it. So there, I'll be reading the Christmas story, the actual Christmas story. So I'm gonna post that on Christmas Eve. That's gonna be a really cool one. I want to do some more videos where I'm just talking to like normal folks. It was really cool. It was probably my favorite video that I've done this year. To get to talk to, like, there's people like on your channel that will comment weekly that watch your videos, and you just have back and forth dialogue with, and it was so cool. They messaged me on Instagram, and I was like, hey, I could talk to other like booktubers. Like we do that quite a bit, and it's fun. It's great. And I just want to change gears. And what if, like, I just had to find 3 guys. I'm like, hey, what if or 4 guys? I'm like, what if would you guys be cool with like just having a chit chat and us nerding out? And all of them were like, absolutely. And I couldn't believe it. I was waiting on somebody to turn it down and be like, no, I don't do on camera stuff. And they're like, are you kidding? We get to nerd out about books with somebody that we watch, I'm like, well, we already talk and text, might as well do this. And so those are fun. I want to do some more of those, and just more collaborative videos, whether it be like where we can have dialogue. The ones where it's like, hey, can you send me in a recommendation? Those, everybody likes those. Those are good. But I think the reason why the majority of us started doing this was to have conversations with other people. Because there's nobody at work that reads. The people that I work with, I think, can barely read. And it is I. But even the ones that do read don't read the books that I read. And so getting to talk to people and go, oh man, like Sun Eater, like, are you kidding? And I'm sitting there trying to explain this to a friend of mine at church. And he's like, same. He's like, that is stupid. like, okay, there may be some credibility there, but understand that hurt my feelings.
I need you to understand I'm hurt right now and I got to go have some feels.
Cutting onions again.
Yeah. Cutting onions again.
But yeah, so those kind of videos, I want to try to maybe do one a month where I get to talk to people, whether it be on their channel or them on mine or whatever. I don't care. I just getting to talk to people and build relationships with people. And I think there is authenticity there that people are looking for. I love the bigger channels like everybody does. Everybody loves Mike. Everybody loves Talking Story. Everybody loves those channels, and there's a lot to them. Some of my favorite videos I've ever seen is when these guys get to talk to each other, or they get to talk to an author, or they get to, and you it's not snippets and sound bites and edited. I can't say that word. It's not overly edited where you get like a version of them. Whereas instead it's like, okay, these people get to know me and they get to know you and we get to know each other and building those relationships. To me, it's the reason that I've been doing it for a year. It's like, there's been several times like nobody's watching this junk. Nobody cares what I have to say about a book. I mean, like literally my video on Ordinary Grace dropped today and it is not doing well. I don't care.
Dude, it's my worst video I've done in months.
Yes.
And you know what? I was on it. So it was funny. I was on a live on Monday with Grifton and Fina, and we were going through and like I had it up and I shouldn't have had it up during the live, but I kept looking at them like these numbers suck. But you know what? I'm so happy I put it out there. I had to get my thoughts out there, and that I cannot agree more. And that's what I do love about this and being the size that I am and knowing that I'm never like there is zero like chances I'm going to go through and make any kind of money on here. And I am 100% okay with that. I am happy with what I'm doing for a job. I don't need to strive to be like, I need to make money. And if I did, it wouldn't be talking about books. I'd be doing video games or whatever all the cool cats are doing with the
cryptocurrency.
I'll be a crypto dude. I could do it. I could wear a hat sideways and be cool. But no, I cannot agree more. I go through and talk about books because I have no one to talk to. There's people like my mother-in-law reads a lot of thrillers and mysteries, so I talk to her about those. A buddy of mine does more of military type thrillers, so anytime a new Jack Carr book comes out, we are reading that, we're talking about it. He goes, you need to read the Shooter series, and it's like okay. So I have little niches of, but no one where it's like, oh, I read all of these. And I think that's what I really love about this space is there's people that's like, oh, I'm a nerd out too, and I read a little bit of everything. It's like, oh yes.
Well, and see, that's what, like when I started watching your channel, it was because I'm like, okay, and this I'm not, I hope this isn't just me like pandering to you or like just like doting on you or anything, but it's like if somebody asks me for a channel that recommends indie fantasy or really mostly any indie sci-fi and fantasy, I'm like, go check out Josh's channel, because like this dude flies through them and he's articulate. He does daily wrap ups of everything he's read. And then he also will do dedicated reviews. And so it's like, but he doesn't only do that, but that is something he does better than most everybody else. And so that's when somebody was asking me, they're like, okay, so are you going to post videos on YouTube? And I'm like, I didn't really want to, but I felt that there was a hole, like a gap in YouTube where I'm like, okay, I understand I'm not going to be super popular, because not only am I reading books, I'm reading nerd books, and then I'm reading nerd books and then trying to look at them through a Christian lens. It's like, I tried to, and then even that, people hate me. So it's like the one of the smallest windows. But I was talking to Doug over at Faith and Fiction Book Club about it. And he was telling me that he said, well, the difference is like, you're probably never going to get to, 100,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers. And he wasn't saying that in like a negative way or anything. He said, he was just saying, but the difference is that the people that are subscribed to your channel and watch your videos, and I would say this is the same for you as well, is that they stay. Whereas a lot of times you'll have these window shoppers or whatever, they'll pop in. And so I know Ordinary Grace is not going to be a super popular book review because it's not fantasy. It's not sci-fi, which is my bread and butter, you know, as far as what I read. So I know it's not going to get as many eyes on it, but I hope that maybe it'll either spark somebody's interest in the book and pick it up and really get something from it, or that somebody will see it and it'll spark their interest in the channel, not to get subscribers or, like you said, to make money or anything, but so that way maybe I can be used as a resource. And so in a very similar sense, like we may not have 10 million subscribers, but the ones that we have, like we talk to, you know, that we talk to on a daily basis. That to me has been the coolest thing about doing this, is getting to know everybody. It's like, well, 100%. I know, I know Josh, I know Grifkin, and Grifkin has a ton of subscribers, and he's just like, he'll just text you, you know, or Preacher or Doug. I mean, Doug's like sitting at like 15,000 subscribers on Instagram now. Chris Pratt follows him, you know? So I'm like, all these guys that have these huge audiences, but there's no ego. Those are the channels that I tend to gravitate towards. And that I think, like he said, that authenticity is what people are looking for. So if we put a video out that's a stinker, I don't think we're going to see 50 people drop off unless we say something absurd, you know, but, otherwise, like they're like, okay, I'll just catch you on the next one and see what happens. That's been super cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. I cannot agree more. The connections, not only with other people creating videos. I don't like saying content creators. I feel like
dude, I know I'm right there with you.
People making videos, but the people that don't, that I've built a bond with in the community. I hate saying that too, but the comment section of going through, and it's crazy to me that it's like it's the same people over and over again. I'm like, it's crazy you want to hear my egghead talk about stuff, you know? It mind boggles me. And
anybody cares to hear what you have to say.
That my mouth hole, and people want to listen to the rainbow stuff that comes out of my mouth, because I can tell you this, before I got on to do this, I would be in the house, in the kitchen, and she's in there. I'm just trying to make dinner. Can you stop talking to me about how wolves are set up? I don't care about wolves. I'm like,
Ganondorf is chasing Frodo through Hogwarts or something.
I got to tell you about this book. And she goes, I don't care. You know, the character's name's Mute. Okay. But he's not mute. Okay. That's just his name. And then she goes, oh my goodness, stop. So
that's hilarious. Well, like, so this has been the coolest, like I said, the coolest thing about doing all this is that, because you've been on YouTube now for close to a year, correct?
It's been 13 months.
Okay. Now. So prior to that, well, I guess I can phrase it as a question, but how many of those the people just that you have never met in person do you now consider a friend? Right.
Oh, a lot.
Yes. Same.
A lot of people.
It's like me and Sam at Samwise, dude, we talk like pretty regularly. And we don't even agree on the books that we read or whatever, you know, but like I consider him and you and Preacher and Matt Pittman and even the guys that I talk to that aren't content creators or whatever, that I had on the channel, or even some of these authors like JL Odom and Luke Scholes and ZS Diamani, like these guys that they just like, I consider them friends. And it's not because, I talked to him one time. It's like we know each other. Yes.
Yeah.
Getting to know, and for anybody watching, if you're on Josh's channel, you're here for this very reason, but like what you see is what you get, you know, and those are the people that you tend to gravitate towards. The cool flashy videos with all the graphics and stuff. That's great. I think if you can do that without, ruining your priorities, do it, or whatever you want to do as far as that goes, but you can't generate authenticity it's either there or it isn't. And so when you're
Mhm.
watching Josh's channel in particular, you're like, okay, this guy, if he reads an indie book, he might be a little gentle with them kind, but he's going to give you his honest opinion. He's not going to be like, well, this book is good because they sent it to me. He's going to be like, this book was okay, or this book was a miss.
You know how hard that is to go through? And it's fun because I had to go through. So before I got on YouTube, I don't know if you know, I did a podcast with a buddy of mine. We did that for about 6 months. So I worked out a lot of issues with how I go through and review books, because it went from me being brutal of like, I'm going to tear these people down,
same,
to being a little bit more understanding of how the process works. So when I started the channel, I was like, I want to create videos and reviews for people like me that are you a plot driven person? Perfect. I'm going to have a section that just goes over the plot. Well, are you more of a writing style type of person? I want to go through and have a section for you. And that's how I was going through and wanted to set it up of like, okay, I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible, because man, a book could not work for me, but it could go through and work for you. And I don't want to be that negative person that goes through like, this book sucks. And you go, well, I liked it, and I think other people need to read it.
Or worse, you give a negative review and they're like, well, I liked it, so you're an idiot. It's like, well, like, thank you for your criticism, I guess, like, and it's easy to dunk on people. That's like, it's easy to dunk on people, and it's popular.
So popular to dunk on people.
I will tell you outright, my top 2 like highest view count videos that I've put out so far. The first one was the very first video that I put out, which is why I DNF'd Wind and Truth. Of course, that's going to get traction. And I put like, and why you should too, or something. I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? And so I get on there and I'm just like, this book is trash and blah, 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 which Sanderson can take some criticism. So it's not that big of a deal. I'm not dunking on JL Odom or somebody like that. Yeah. So it's a little bit different. But at the same time, my second highest rated video was 10 books that I DNF'd or something. It's like, people love negativity.
Well, and that's one thing, like, I have not done one video that around DNFing or about books I didn't like, because I wanted that specific. I was like, I do not want that. I don't want anyone coming on the channel thinking that I could potentially just dunk on your book from an indie route perspective. Like, and the thing is, like, if I don't like the indie book, I'm just not going to talk about it. I will say, hey, I went through and read this book. Here's what it's about. Have a great day. And then I drop it down. I go to the next one. And it's not all those that I do that with that I go through and I go, oh, I don't like this book. But, if I don't have anything nice to say, I'm just not going to say it, because it's like, being in this community, it makes you realize the amount of work people go through and do to make these books. And it's an uphill battle. And the last thing I want to be is someone who bashes people and makes people feel bad. So
let me commend you by saying the few times where I have seen you be critical of a work, like let's say, if we're critical about anything on Ordinary Grace, even though somebody may disagree with you, you are objective enough to where somebody can go, I get it, I disagree. And so it's not like, I don't like this book because it's stupid, because it's dumb or whatever. It's okay, I have my reasons. Let me lay my reasons out. And if you don't agree with those, that's cool. But at least you can understand. But if I just sit here and go, your book stinks and I don't like it, and so because of that, I don't like you, and as a reader, if somebody DNFs your favorite book, it's like, you're a scumbag. So there's been several times where I've gotten that, like, I can't believe you DNF'd this or this. And I'm like, I have reasons. I know you don't care about the reasons. I do. I care about the reasons. And I'm just trying to do, what I can do. I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings, but I also get it, because when I gave somebody the first book of Stormlight, and it's 1,300 pages, and he read the whole thing and he's like, that book was awful. And I'm like, you're not smart enough to get it, or immediately like why am I coming to Sanderson's defense? Like I didn't write it, I just enjoyed it.
So what's so funny? So I DNF probably about 10% of books I go through and pick up. And I put it on Goodreads. If you want to see all the books I've DNF, just go on Goodreads, you can see it. So when I started the channel and I was promoting my Goodreads a lot, and if you don't follow me on Goodreads, go do it. It's fun. I do one sentence reviews. They're funny, or at least to me. I would get bashed in the comments of people going through like, you DNF'd this book, and I went, yeah, I didn't. I DNF books all the time. They go, what? And I'm like, I didn't say anything on the channel. Why are you bringing up something that's over here? Like, what is happening? And I do got to mention something. I am brutally honest about your book, EL. They're fantastic. They are fantastic.
Yes.
So you're welcome. They're good. They're really good. I love them. All of them. Man, all the ones that I've read. I've not read all of them, but I've read all the ones I've read. They're so good.
Fortunately, I think the stigma around self-pub, indie published, whatever, however you want to phrase it, has been quite a bit alleviated over the past year or two. I think people realize it's less of, well, they couldn't get published, and is instead that they didn't want to get robbed blind, or or lose like their artistic credibility towards things. It's like, well, I don't want to put this character in there. Well, you have to because we said so. Or I don't want to kill off this person or whatever. Well, you have to. Or I don't like that cover art. It stinks. It doesn't, encompass what I'm trying to evoke out of the reader. Well, too bad. Like I get that. And so I think people have become disillusioned to, well, indie means bad. As a matter of fact, some of the best books I've read this year have been indie published.
Well, so I just honestly started reading indie since starting this channel. Before that, I had that mindset of going, oh, they weren't picked up by traditional. They're not as good. And then it was Molly McCobb's book.
Yeah.
Is the first one. So she was the first author to send me a book. And I read her book and I was like, this is really good. And I was like, is there other ones? And then I started grabbing more. And then that's why this channel is turned into indie, because I'm figuring out the space the same time I'm presenting it out to everyone else. And that's why I get so excited, because it's like they are knocking out the traditional publish out of the park. Because I can pick up a traditionally published book and I'm like, this is going to be a 50-50 split if I like this. But I pick up an indie book and I'm like, this is like a 90% chance I'm going to like this book. And it is. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun. And I have so many on the docket to come in next year. And I am super excited. I do want to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love that our channels are simpatico in this way, which is that people want us to be the guinea pigs. Like people are like, okay, Josh already overbooked. Like I'm kind of on the fence about this indie book. You know what? He said he's going to read it. I'll wait till he reads it and then he'll let me know. And then somebody else is like, okay, this book I've heard has like some graphic scenes in it. I'm gonna wait and see what Josh thinks. I'm like, happy to help, I guess.
I know. I really, and I meant it on the introduction, I really do love the way that you set up your stuff. And it's like, all right, I'm going to give you my honest thoughts. All right, let's get into these little sections each. And I love it.
Thank you.
So
I love that people jumped on board pretty quick, because they're like, because early on I was just like sort of a generalized, I don't know if Christians should read this or not or whatever. And now I'm like, okay, how do I objectify something completely subjective? And now every once in a while, especially if it's a popular book, if I rated, I can't remember what it was. It might've been Sun Eater or something, but I rated the violence like a 6 or a 7. And he was like, this guy got on there, and I actually screenshotted it and sent it to somebody. I was like, this is the dumb comment of the week. So it was like, I can't believe you put it in this, because it should be way higher and blah, 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 blah. And you're not even a real Christian. I was like, what does that have to do with it anyway? So he's sitting there and he's like, just lambasting me about how I should have made it higher. And then in the same comment section, somebody's like, I can't believe you put it that high. Like, this is still subjective. It's I'm just trying to put a number to it.
I am just a dude who decided to put my dumb face on the internet. Like, I am nothing but that. I turned on the camera and said, I guess I'll upload
you know
it.
Everybody needs to know my opinion.
Yes. Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah. That's so good, man.
It's so funny, man. I can't remember what I was going to go through. I can't remember what I was saying. Yeah, I don't remember where I was getting.
You said you had some books you had on the docket you're looking forward to getting to.
Yeah, I can't. Oh no, I wanted to give you some appreciation. You went through and recommended Academy of Outcasts by Larry Correia.
Yep.
I like that.
That's a good one.
I like it. It was a good one. It was a good one.
I saw that you started picking up Monster Hunter, and I'm like, yes.
I have them all right
here.
So that's on my list too.
Dude.
I'm doing a book series. So everyone's putting. I see what people are doing, and I have an idea for all these video ideas, but then I see everyone doing it, and I'm like, I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to wait. So everyone's doing what series or what books I'm reading in 2026. I'm like, I already have it written out when I want to go through.
You literally have an Excel sheet.
But I do. It's right here.
I know. I've heard you talk about it.
So I have it. It's ready to go. But I'm like, you know what? Everyone's doing it. I don't want everyone thinking I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I'm just going to wait, and it's going to be my second video where it's all the series I want to finish, I want to start, and I want to reread in 2026. So it's a behemoth. It's huge. I'm biting off way more than I can chew with this one. It is a lot.
So spoiler alert, though, I'm pretty sure we are planning to finish up Sun Eater this year.
You are way ahead of the game.
Wait till you get Shadows Upon Time, then you might change your mind. I slowed down, buddy.
I'll catch up to you.
Yeah.
We plan on doing that one. We're on doing Monster Hunter. Plan on going through that whole series. Want to finish Repairman Jack Adversary Cycle, Sandman Slim, which is you're not going to like those.
Okay.
I would not recommend Sandman Slim to you or anyone on your audience. Just raise the book and go no.
Dude, can I tell you that Sledge versus the Labyrinth, it was one of my favorite things that's ever happened to me on because of YouTube when I had it recommended. So I pick it up, and it is so good. It is so good. And it's so well done. And the Labyrinth pulled me in, I'm like, all right, I'm hooked. And there's stuff in it, but I'm like, it reminded me of Sin City. And so I'm like, I'm game. It reminded me of Marv from Sin City, or a Mickey Rourke's character. And so I'm like, okay, this is awesome. But then there was a particular scene where I'm like, okay, the language is getting pretty heated, which is fine. I'm good with. And then there was a point where I was like, okay, there's maybe one too many GDs here. I'm just going to roll it back a little bit. And then I just took a day to just kind of pause, which I'll do from time to time if I'm wrestling with a book. And I was like, okay, I'm going to come back to it. You know what? I'm going to try it on audio. And I turned it on in our Bluetooth speaker when I was in the shower, and I was like, uh-oh. So anyway, I put it down, not because I wasn't enjoying it. I absolutely loved what I read. It's just probably a little too heavy for my taste. And even if I did finish it, I probably wouldn't even do a review for it on the channel, just because I know my audience, and they, anyway. So I put a review on Goodreads, and I only 1-star DNFs, but I will review every book that I read, regardless of what I give it. And so I just put that I DNF'd it. I didn't even rate it. So I didn't even 1-star it. It was an exception because of self-pub. Anyway, Sam texted me the next day, and he's like, hey, are you on Twitter? And I said, see, he already knows. I'm like, I guess, but I haven't been on there in a couple of years. He's like, you might want to go look at it because you're getting pretty blasted. And so I go, and the comments were gold. They were they had a guy that had toilet paper earrings, and he was wiping his tears with it, and had a guy with a pacifier's mouth, and the author put, sorry, it hit too hard for you, or whatever. And so I'm like, do I comment or not? And so I go, okay, I'm going to comment. Hey, first of all, the comment section here is beautiful. I'm so I don't take myself seriously. Let's keep it up. I think they're hilarious. Secondly, I actually loved your book. I just personally couldn't get past some convictional things. And he sent me a private message. Nick Horvath, I think is his name.
Horvath, yeah.
Yep. He was so cool. He was like, dude, you're a jerk. That's how he started it. I'm like, well, he goes, you sat there and you were nice to me, and now I can't make fun of you anymore. And I'm like, please do. I find it hilarious. But he asked me, which was pretty cool. He's like, can I use your review as like publicity to show how? I'm like, absolutely. So he's like, this guy literally quit reading my book because of how heavy it is. That's how awesome it is. So I'm like, dude, go for it. So some of those have been just awesome. It's getting to talk to that guy, and with him, I've actually talked to him since then. He's been so cool, and we've just kind of touched base. And anyway, like I said, since then, he's just like, okay, maybe I don't just need to jump on the let's hate everybody that doesn't like my book bandwagon. I'm like, dude, I loved your book. I just have to find the edited version, And he's like, okay, no worries.
I have the TV PG version of this. Yeah. I don't need the unrated version of this. No. And Nick is such a cool guy. Like he's lived a crazy life. Like if you want to just Google Nick Horvath, he is a professional basketball player, or he used to be.
Oh, really? Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Like he was like, I don't want to make up stats for this guy, but no, he was like top tier basketball player, like cool dude. And then he decided I'm going to write a book, and he did. And he big fan of 80s.
Yep. Wears it on his sleeve,
Big dude. Just let's go for battle kind of guy.
Let's go Stallone. Rambo.
Yes, exactly. Rambo's. Yeah. Coolest dude. But yeah, no, it's fun, man. It's fun. I love it. I saw the interaction, and it made me giggle because people are like, I want to read this now even more after reading this. And I was like, get it.
Yeah, glad I could help, I guess.
Glad I get it. You're welcome. Like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure I get royalties off of that, just so you know.
Yeah, like, it's so funny. Oh man. Oh geez. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend, if you didn't like Sledge, you're not going to like Sandman Slim. So don't pick that up at all. There's a few, and it's all about having different, not different. It's about having acceptabilities, I guess, on what you're going to go through and consume.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that's why I tell people, like, it's going to be different for everybody. So like, you don't take my word for it. I can only tell you what my experience is like. And so I've had a few people since then go, okay, I kind of know where your threshold is. So because I know where your threshold is, I know that mine is either a little farther past, or some people are like, yeah, I can't even, like, I don't even want, if it has GD in it one time, I nope out quick, or if it has an F-bomb in it or anything like that. Like, I can't read that. And I'm like, okay, well, objectively, I think I'm somewhere kind of in the middle. And so I try to lean most of the time online on the side of caution, just because to put frankly, when I reviewed the first Red Rising book and absolutely loved it, my pastor's wife came up to me, and she's like 50, probably early 50s. And she's like, hey, I got that book you recommended, because I've recommended a ton of them to her. I was like, oh, really? Which one? She said, Red Rising. I love like 300 and Gladiator. And I was like, you watch my videos? And she goes, I watch all of your videos. And I was like, oh no. So I was immediately mortified. So now every time I'm about to hit record, I'm like, okay, Miss Allison is about to watch this. So reel it in.
I recommend this to everyone. Not you, Miss Allison.
Dude,
not
I
you.
have done that.
Not you. Please don't read this book. But everyone else.
Yeah. There's been a few times where I'm like, hey, I'm going to recommend this book to you, but if you don't like it, please don't think less of me.
Oh my goodness. That's so awesome. Oh man, that's fun. All right, man. Well, it is 10:30 my time. I'm going to have to head in. Same. And we had a few people twice. You've been on this whole time, brother. I appreciate you. Appreciate you hanging out. Dark Bloom's good, man. Dark Bloom technically it's a zombie story because it is post-apocalyptic, but it's more of a character-driven story. It is so good. I'm going to be doing a review of her second book probably in January. So go through and read both of them, and then you can go through and see my review. I think
I've got book 1 queued up because of you, and have since talked to her, which she's awesome.
She's very cool. Very cool. So, all right. I appreciate it, Josh. You coming on.
Same, man.
I cannot wait for the next one. This was too much fun. And everyone who was on and anyone that's watching on the recap, thank you so much. And make sure you stay overbooked. So have a good one. Bye.